Good evening and welcome to the joint meeting of the City Council of the City of Moreno Valley Community Services District, City as successor agency for the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Moreno Valley Housing Authority, Moreno Valley Public Financing Authority, and the Board of Library Trustees. The City Council receives a separate stipend for CSD meetings. I now call this meeting to order on January 17th, 2023 at 6 p.m. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by, you want to do the pledge? Councilmember? Yeah. By Councilmember Marquez. And please remain standing as the invocation will be given by Senior Pastor Donnie Wilson of Lighthouse Baptist Church.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I come before you tonight grateful and thankful to be here in this city, a part of what you're doing here. Lord, I beg for you to be in this meeting, that your Holy Spirit would rest upon this place, upon these leaders, give them wisdom, and Lord, give them words of understanding. Lord, help them to receive instruction, justice, and judgment, and equity, Father. Lord, I pray you'd help them give simple the understanding and knowledge and discretion, Father. Lord, I pray that they would fear the Lord above all else, Father. We look forward to what you're going to do in this year with this council and this body and this city, Father. I pray you'd make it prosperous, and we'll give you the glory and praise for all that you do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Baca, Santa Cruz.
Present.
Councilmember Marcus.
Here.
Councilmember Bernard.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Delgado.
Here, ma'am.
And Mayor Cabrera.
Here. Thank you, Madam Clerk. A reminder that the city is currently offering Spanish translation services if anyone is interested in this feature. Before we hear public comments this evening, I ask and encourage everyone participating to keep their comments respectful toward others, especially toward the individuals at the podium. Did I do that? Okay, staff introductions, please.
Jane Halstead, City Clerk.
Paul Bradvica, Deputy City Clerk.
Stephen Quintanilla, Interim City Attorney.
Mike Lee, City Manager.
Brian Mohan, Assistant City Manager, Chief Financial Officer, City Clerk, City Treasurer. I'm so sorry.
Michael Lloyd, Assistant City Manager for Development Services.
Man Yamancha, Community Development Director.
Melissa Walker, Acting Director of Public Works.
Jeremy Bubnick, Parks and Community Services Director.
Lieutenant Scott Burns, Police.
And Jesse Park, Fire Chief.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Mayor?
Yes.
Before we get started, can I read a statement?
Sure thing.
Mayor Cabrera, may I speak before you take the public comments? The previous mayor combined the public comments on the agenda, and I would like to request, with the support of my colleagues, to have separate public comments for items not on the agenda, comments for items on the agenda, which are the consent calendar items. And lastly, comments to be allowed for each item listed in the general business section of the agenda. Do I have the support of any of my fellow colleagues?
Thank you, Council Member, and thank you for bringing that up. If I'm understanding your proposal correctly, it's to have separate opportunity for public comment, one opportunity for consent calendar, and then a separate opportunity for public comments on non-agenda items.
Yes.
Correct. I fully support that. Absolutely. I think that it's important that we do give more opportunity to the public to have input, to give their say on matters regarding the city. So if that's a motion, actually, I'll second that motion. Can you please call for a vote?
Isn't it?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz,
Yes.
Councilmember Marcus,
Yes.
Councilmember Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Delgado,
Yes, ma'am.
and Mayor Cabrera.
Yes. That motion passes 5-0. And we already voted on it, but maybe we can talk more about it, and also you directly with staff to figure out exactly how that'll be structured on the agenda. No, we can talk about it as well and make sure that we start that for our next regular council meeting. Thank you, council member. Okay. Before we hear public comments this evening, I ask and encourage everyone participating to keep their comments respectful toward others, especially toward the individuals speaking. I embrace and support the First Amendment right to free speech, including everyone's right to speak at this meeting and to share their views about issues concerning our city. But we can be more productive by being civil and respectful toward one another in this meeting. Finally, I ask that speakers bear in mind that comments will be limited for each speaker, and I encourage everyone to refrain from duplicating comments already made by others, other than to note that you agree or disagree with the prior comments. Public comments on matters on the agenda and non-agenda items will be taken up at this time. Any person wishing to address the City Council on any matter should submit a speaker slip to the City Clerk and wait to be identified to speak by the Mayor. Members of the public must direct their comments to the Mayor and not to other members of the City Council, the applicant, the staff, or the audience. In order to preserve the meeting decorum, Council and staff will not respond during public comments. Any council comments or questions to staff may be addressed during the council closing comments. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak?
Yes, Mayor, we have several requests to speak.
Okay, we can go ahead and call the first three names, and then we can proceed from there if you are ready.
Just a moment, Mayor. Before we get started, the city attorney needs to make an announcement, Mayor.
Okay, absolutely. Go right
Yeah,
ahead.
I was informed by the city clerk that we have individuals who want to comment on F1, which was the continued public hearing. And I believe they should be entitled to comment on it at this time. As the council may recall, this F1, which is the RC Hobbs project, which involves a tentative map, that public hearing was continued after the public testimony period was closed. So technically, even though they're allowed to comment at this time, I just want to let them know that their comments will not be technically part of the administrative record related to this public hearing item. It's akin to commenting on a court hearing outside in the court lobby, and that just means that the judge cannot consider those comments as part of his or her decision on the item for due process purposes. So again, they should be allowed to comment at this time, but technically they cannot be, those comments can't be considered in the context of making your decision tonight.
Thank you, City Attorney. And again, that is because at the last council meeting, we did conduct the public hearing and gave an opportunity for public comments. So thank you for clarifying that as well. And anything else from staff before we move to public comments?
But just to be clear, you're going to take anybody who filled out the goldenrod speaker slip for F1 to merge them in with the items not on the agenda. So they'll be speaking one time, 3 minutes on or off agenda items, including anybody who filled out a goldenrod for F1. Yes, and we are not to take those comments into consideration when F1 comes up.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're moving into public comment, and as you clarified, they can speak on item F1, but it won't be entered into the public record for that particular item.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
And not consider what they say tonight as part of our decision-making on that item.
That's correct.
Yes, Brian?
Honorable Mayor, council members, I do believe that item A2 is also being removed from the agenda. We may want to go ahead and, for the administrative record, mention that before public comment in case anybody was expecting to speak on it.
Thank you, Brian. Would you like for us to have a formal vote to pull or continue item A2, or do we just proceed?
Yes, please.
Have a formal vote?
Formal vote.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to pull item A2 and continue, and
A2, B2, C2, D2, and E2 for the record.
thank you. So there's a motion for that, and I'm seeking a second.
I'll second.
Okay, please call for a vote.
Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz?
Voice vote or here? Voice? It's on.
We can have it here then.
That passes 5-0. Thank you, staff. Okay, anything else before we move to public comments?
I'd like to pull item A6 from the consent, so I don't know if we should speak about that now so that people who are speaking on that item are aware, or if we should just leave it and let them speak. Do you understand what I'm saying is why I'd like
The
to?
way it's set up for
Yeah.
the meeting is that public comments take place first, and then we can pull items after that.
Well, I've said it, so I think the public knows.
Okay. So can we go ahead and call the first three speakers, please, and then proceed from there, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mayor. Adam Everton, Alicia Espinosa, and Lori Painter.
Mr. Eventhoff, thank you. And there will be 3 minutes per speaker.
Got it. All right. Honorable Mayor and City Council, thank you for speaking. My name is Adam Eventov, Public Affairs Manager for SoCal Gas, but tonight you can call me Debbie Downer. I've got bad news, but it's better to hear this bad news now than to find out about it later. Gas prices on the commodity market are going through the roof. And so while SoCal Gas charges you basically a set rate that's set by the state to deliver gas to your homes, the cost of the gas that's in those pipes has gone through the roof. What do I mean by that? So for example, you could buy a gallon equivalent of natural gas back in December for about $1.89. Now it's at $6.05 to give you some sort. And this is based on demand. This is based on the fact that because of the cold winter, the wet weather, people are consuming natural gas nationwide at record levels. And so based on supply and demand, free market economy, the natural gas prices have just gone up and up. There are some things you can do. First off, on everything I say tonight, you can always go to SoCalGas.com and learn more about some of the things I'm referencing, such as lower your thermostat, update your thermostat and maybe get a rebate, wash your clothes in cold water, turn down your water heater, that does matter. Also limit non-essential items such as your natural gas fireplace. Don't run it if you can avoid it. Don't run your jacuzzi now. Just try to save some money. There are also some income qualified types of programs such as medical baseline, one-time assistance, one-time debt forgiveness. And all of these can be found at www.socalgas.com/assistance. When in doubt, you can always just go to SoCalGas.com and type in what you're looking for in the search bar and it'll direct you. It's a very big site, so it can be a little challenging. When in doubt, you can also call our 800 number, our 1-800-427-2200 service number to get all of this if you don't have internet access. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. It's better that you hear it now and try to get ahead of your bill. There's also level pay where you can average out your cost of your bill over the course of all 12 months. That helps take some of the sting off, but there's no easy way to say it. It's going to be rough for the next few months while we go through this cold weather spell. So thank you for the opportunity. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but I'd rather you hear it now than find out later. Thank you for your time.
The next three speakers are Alicia Espinosa, Lori Painter, and Bill Redden.
Good evening. It is with great disbelief that I read the agenda item G1, Mayor Duties. So now the special interest group wants to take away the mayor's powers that the special interest group recently voted on to give the mayor when their buddy and sidekick Gutierrez sat in that position. our attorney, Steve Quintanilla, gave a long explanation as to why the mayor should have all those special powers described and defined in the municipal code, and the council majority voted yes 8 months ago. The former council majority, the special interest group, all endorsed and supported Jaime Hurtado for the mayor and lost the election in 2022. Had he been elected, this item would not be on the agenda for today. The losing side, who are chosen to undermine our recently elected mayor, the mayor that we the people voted for. Thank you.
The next three speakers are Lori Painter, Bill Redden, and Daryl Terrell.
Hi. Okay. Thank you. I just want to thank everyone. Last time we were here speaking on, my name is Lori Painter. I live on Cactus and the corner of Cactus and Bradshaw. So for that F1, I know I'm just here to say how much I appreciate being heard at the last meeting. I really felt that we were heard as a group. I also want to thank Councilmember Delgado for taking a special interest. I appreciate that you're just letting us have this opportunity, and I trust and pray that you guys are going to make the best decision for our town and for us, and I just really appreciate you guys. I want to thank you very much.
The next three speakers are Bill Redden, Daryl Terrell, and Susan Alanin.
Good evening, Mayor. Today is decision day as far as we're concerned about the Hobbs development. Obviously, we're hoping that you will deny the appeal. But there's a couple things we want to go over, and thank you, similar to what Lori said. We'd like to thank all the council members for their attentive listening to our concerns regarding this development during the last public hearing. We'd also like to thank you for reading all the emails that we sent and considering that information that regarding the impact to our community. In addition, we'd like to thank Ed, Ulysses, and David for listening to our concerns via cell phone on different occasions. To make it abundantly clear, these council members were talked to individually. We didn't want to violate the Brown Act. Finally, we'd like to thank Ed for coming out to our homes, boarding on the Bradshaw Circle to tour the area and listen to Lori Painter's concerns regarding the development. Thank you very much, Ed. We are hoping you allow our dreams to soar and deny this appeal. At this time, I'd like to have all those people there and opposed to this development stand that are here. Thank you. We're looking forward to your decision this evening. Thank you very much.
The next three speakers are Daryl Terrell, Susan Alamin, and Jesus Alamin.
Hi, my name is Daryl Terrell. I live here in Moreno Valley. Good evening. Our hearts are heavy once again, but our resolve must never, ever waver. My thoughts and deepest sympathies are with Deputy Calhoun's family, who he loved so much, his friends, his brothers and sisters in the Sheriff's Department, as they mourn his loss in a senseless act of violence. When is it enough when one more deputy loses their life? When is it enough when one more of our neighbors are held at gunpoint at an ATM machine? When it is enough when one more business is victimized by a revolving criminal justice system that cares more about the criminal than the people? When will it be enough when one more family is terrorized by home invaders? We owe an extra effort to our deputies and all of you in this room or who are watching at home, and to our business community to ensure that these career criminals who illegally possess firearms in our community are fairly prosecuted and sent to a federal prison out of our community. We can go after these criminals federally in our community. Mr. Mayor and the City Council, under Title 18 of the Federal Firearms Statute, Section 922 and 924, through the formation of an interagency partnership with our DA's office, our U.S. Attorney down in Riverside, who has an existing partnership with, in drug cases, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and our Sheriff's Department, in establishing an innovative program called Project Exile. Or we can apply for the U.S. Department of Justice grant program called Project Safe Neighborhoods. It derives the name from the concept that any criminal found in possession of a firearm or convicted of using a firearm in the commission of a crime forfeit their rights to remain in this community. This program takes advantage of the existing federal laws to prosecute criminals in drug trafficking, possession, firearms, or using a firearm in a domestic violence case in federal court. Federal court can apply more stringent bond rules and sentencing guidelines than state courts. No parole, no bail, and mandatory minimum sentence, straight time minimum of 5 years. Under Project Safe Neighborhoods grant program, it operates with the same partners. But the most important thing we have to do is send these criminals in our community that they're not welcome. They need to be in federal prison. And Mr. Mayor, you need to write a letter to the DA, make sure that we can form a coalition, because other cities are doing it, and we need to hold these people accountable. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Terrell.
The next three speakers are Susan Alamon, Jesus Alamon, and Geneva Alamon.
Hello, my name is Susan Alamon. 7 years back, it came time for us to buy our home, and we decided to try out the city of Moreno Valley. 5 years ago, we bought our first home in the neighborhood of Weston Park, and what I can say about Moreno Valley is that we love our city. This is my first council meeting before I've watched the meetings online, and I felt such a calling to come this time after watching the last meeting. I really needed to come to speak today what God's put on my heart. I really feel like Moreno Valley has got a bad rap for not being a good place to live. I read pages on Instagram, Facebook for Moreno Valley, where people that are going to come and move here to our city from some different state or different cities here in California, asking for advice, maybe on the areas where to move to, schools to attend, where to eat. And there's just so many people that live here that talk negative about our city, saying don't move here, stay where you are. You'll hate it here. There's nothing good about our city. There's nothing here that's good. Some of the newer residents that have moved here say positive things. I read them saying that they love the city like my family loves it. What I heard last council meeting was a lot of the longtime residents seem very tainted by the past. It seems that maybe the city before we got here wasn't run the way you would have liked it, and that there's a lot of reasons why you were unhappy with the way that it was governed in the past. But we need to find a positive way to look at our new mayor, Ulysses Cabrera. Even if you don't agree with him or the things of the past, my pastor Matt Brown said it best. We don't have to agree with the person elected in a position, but we must respect the position. We need to respect our mayor. Let's not come here to belittle him about the things that it's done in the past or criticize him about how it was run before. No, the future can be different. Let us uplift our new mayor. He's coming in here with a fresh new look. Him being young is a positive. We do need a new perspective for this city, especially if the residents that have been here for a long time need and want to see change. Let's encourage our new mayor by asking what we can do as residents here to help. I do believe he's going to make a positive change. Let's believe in him. If we can all get together knowing that we want to make the city a better place for families to come raise their families or to start a new business here, we can figure out a way to get involved as families together, thinking of ways of learning to make it safer. Let's start by bringing culture to our city with arts and music. Let's figure out a way to take advantage of the land that we have here and learn how to plant and grow food so maybe it's more affordable for families to eat healthy. Instead of speaking negatively about how things weren't the way that you have wanted them this whole time, can we please start looking at it as our new mayor as a new beginning for a positive future, so we can all be proud of Moreno Valley, so everyone can say it's great to live here. It's let's just be positive from now on, encourage our new mayor, and come together as a community to make us all proud of where we live. Thank you for your time, and everybody take care, and God bless.
Good evening. I'm going to try to reach you. My name is Jesus Aleman, and I'm proud to be here. Growing up, I remember my dad showing me how important this was. A councilman, a councilwoman, the mayor. Each one of you represent a piece of the city and a percentage of people. Yesterday was Martin Luther King Day, and I started thinking, like, what do we know about this man? Like, was he from California or Chicago? I knew he was great because I have heard, but I don't remember doing my own search. Martin Luther King was born in Atlanta, Georgia, and he died in Tennessee at the age of 39. I didn't know that he led so many marches against Jim Crow laws and racism. He preached about God and love. And as I get older, we get wiser and we're able to focus and prioritize our time better. And I can see the next move coming as if it's like a slow motion movie. I can see what's important to come and get involved with my city, my home of Moreno Valley. And I'm reading about Martin Luther King. I read this, and it says, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, and only love can do that. And these few years, God's shown me so much, but every day He's teaching me. And I started a plant shop called Sucks to Be You, and the most important part about plants is the light. In my life, I was in a dark place, and I didn't know about love or hugs. I struggled like we all are. But God used plants, lights, to drive out the darkness in my heart. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And as you represent our city up there, instead of seeing you guys fighting and all mad, put a smile on your face, speaking a tone of love, care for each other. You represent the people, but you also set the example for us. Unite my city, and I can be proud of my home, Moreno Valley. So.
The next three speakers are Genevieve Alamin, Bob Palomares, and Christopher Baca.
Alrighty, so my name is Genevieve Alaman, and when God gives us the right timing, my family and I will eventually open a plant shop here in Moreno Valley. That was my mom and dad speaking right before me. Very proud of them. I think their messages were strong. Can we just give them a little round of applause again? I think that was beautiful. I'm really proud of them. But anyways, I grew up in Riverside, and my parents bought their first home here about 5 years ago. I've always been in between Moreno Valley and Riverside. I know Riverside like the back of my hand, and I'm proud to say that I am a resident here in Moreno Valley who loves their city. These past few years, I have seen Riverside expand so much, from bringing the community together at art walks, to seeing all the city events that they cater to all crowds, to seeing beige buildings now hold strong, powerful murals throughout the city. I want to help bring fun community events that anyone can attend, a place to learn about plants or art, or maybe just somewhere to listen to some good music, a place that feels safe and comfortable for anyone to be at. I see that next month is this Festival of the Arts, which I'm super excited for. I was so excited to see that my city finally is going to start recognizing some artists. I was a little bummed out. My dad signed up immediately, but they turned us down from participating. He has a portable plant stand where he teaches people about plants. I paint the pots that they come in, and to me, nature is God's first strokes from his paintbrush on this earth. My dad has even currently has an art piece made out of succulents inside the Riverside Art Museum. It bummed me out that our city wouldn't allow us to be a part of something like this. They said that they are only accepting artists that use canvases. All I have to say is that art can be anything that you put your mind to, whether if it's music or if it's cooking or crocheting. All I have to say is that if we're going to settle with art is only on canvases, we need to update our idea of what art can be and what it does for people. It's a form of therapy, a way to express yourself, and we need to allow all artists to express themselves in the way they desire to. Moreno Valley needs that extra love, extra color. We need to invest art into our city, and you will be hearing from me more these next few weeks. Before I go, if there's anyone I can talk to about this event coming up next month, I would love to get in contact with you. This is something that I really want to be a part of, and I would appreciate if you reach out to us or I can reach out to you. I'm here to help move Moreno Valley in a positive direction, and I will be an active participant in the growth that will happen these next few years. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Alaman, and we'll make sure to have staff connect with you so that you can talk about the event. Thank you so much for your comments.
The next three speakers are Bob Palomares, Christopher Baca.
Good evening, Council.
Mr. Park and Police Department. I always like to come up here and acknowledge you for the great work you do every day. And yeah, like Darrell Terrell was saying, it is another sad Ice Age day. You know, we just, a while back, Mayor Pro Tem was at the ceremony for fallen law enforcement in Riverside, and then we had the officer that was killed in Jurupa Valley, Cordero, and now we have this. And just a while ago, I heard that in Val Verde School District, they're going to be voting to get rid of police. You know, our children should be our first priority. Instead, we're taking away a protection that is there for them and the people that surround them and educate them. Sheriff Bianco was correct when he said that there are some self-serving politicians in this county, and it's true. We have one that was criticizing him when he made that statement, one that always called for defunding police, and we know Corey Jackson, the supporter of defunding police at schools, he's made that statement. But yet, he's taking money from the school district for his nonprofit. You know, that, how low can you get? You know, you'll take the safety from our children, and then you want money from the same district? And Mayor, he's one of your associates. You both associate together. You'll be seeing him on the 28th. So I challenge you to tell him that, you know, you don't support defund police or your anti-police agenda that he carries, that you're not part of that. As a matter of fact, you should organize a march to support police in this city. You should do that. You know, you talk about transparency. You want us to believe in you, then do what is right. There's just, you know, the public demands it, that the transparency, since everybody sat up there, is in front of us. The honesty. Thank you.
The next three speakers are Christopher Baca, Tom Gerald Sr., and Terry Thom.
Good afternoon, staff, elected officials, and community. First of all, I'd like to commend Mr. Elaman, the Platte man. In case anybody missed it, there's I think it was KCAL did an article, a thing on him, on how he went from a construction worker to during COVID and pushing plants, a cart and selling plants, and I was very impressed with that. I like plants, and I think they're very spiritually healing. But anyhow, I was here to also commend Mr. Darrell Terrell with his comments on, you know, some of the things that are available to help our community, and I wanted to go ahead and continue on that with the funding that supposedly Mr. Takano got for the city, as far as so many fundings there are for the homeless programs. And I'd like to point out, and I'll follow through with a comment I made last time regarding all the crime on Sunnymead Boulevard, and maybe what some of those funding, most of that funding should actually go to public safety, as far as getting, you know, more, you know, response times or patrols in our city. Because from what I understand, I got a call from our chief here, and he explained to me how, you know, we're getting about 440 something calls a day for service, and that's really, you know, I'm amazed, I'm shocked, you know, so, you know, our police are really tied up, and I think we need to, you know, get some of that that funding available for that, as far as the problems going on Sunnymead Boulevard with the homeless and the transients breaking into some of these businesses. But on the other hand, I'm also astonished that some of these businesses don't have alarm systems and don't have private security, and that could probably be another aspect that you can look into in funding to stop the crime from the homeless. diverting some of that money to some of the businesses and getting them some, maybe funding a private security, Sunnymead, or, subsidizing some alarm systems for some of these low-income businesses. There's a lot of ways to handle that, and, it's just amazing the crime and the level of people that, we got to deal with in our city. I stood there observing and approached some of the people that are walking down Sunnymead, and they're violent and they're a threat to our community, and we really need to address our public safety with some of this funding that's coming in from all sources. From what I believe, the federal government should take their handle their VAs, and the state should handle the mentally ill. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next three speakers are Tom Gerald Sr., Terry Thom, and Martin Cabrera Sr.
Thank you, Mayor Cabrera. Tom Gerald speaking on behalf of myself and also on behalf of the Sundance Center, where I spent a little bit of time lately. Members of the council and Mayor Pro Tem and members of the staff and the public, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I was just thinking, the gas company came up here, where's global warming when we need it? So, a little chilly out there these days, but we'll get through. And I want to acknowledge the great tragedy of Deputy Calhoun, and prayers and condolences for his family. There's a observance going on for him as we speak down in his hometown. Started at 6 o'clock, and I'll of course remember Deputy Cordero. I mean, it's just both of those hit me very hard. So we interface a lot with our deputies, and so they're good people, and they deserve better. And then I want to affirm the people who came out tonight again to they're in opposition to a certain project, and even though I do support it, as I said in the meeting, they gave such a fantastic presentation and orderly and well thought out ideas. So I affirm them for exercising their rights there. Some years ago, former councilman and mayor Richard Stewart, after about 20 years of service, said at a function one night, he said, I've learned the number one thing is important to the average constituent, and it's not planning, and it's not, Parks and Rec and stuff like. It's when you call 911 that you get an ambulance, or you get a fire truck, or you get a police or a deputy response in a timely fashion. And, based on what Mr. Baca said previously, and I didn't ask him to share his comments, he did that independently, but I affirm him, the bad guys are active, and they're out there doing bad things to good people, and it's not just us. So been a lot there was a lot of high-end burglaries for mechanic shops and plus some pretty big businesses to the west of us. And I heard recently to the east of us a lot of small places being broken into, and then we've had our share of woes. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention as a strong and ongoing community need. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak.
The next three speakers are Terry Thom, Martin Cabrera Sr., and Pete Bleckard.
Good evening, Council. My name is Terry Thom. I come to you today because of some quality of life issues and some of the things I'm hearing here. I haven't been to a city council meeting for probably 20 years or more. So it's been a long time, and the place looks completely different. So anyways, just to kind of brief you a little bit about my concern is I live in the Moreno Valley area over by the Moreno Valley High School. And there's some streets that are bordering Frederick, Eucalyptus, Heacock, and Drosea. And all of the inner streets in there are pretty cracked up. I've been here since 1984, so I've been here a couple of years. The last time the street was resurfaced was back in 2015. It was probably a slurry seal. The number of cracks and the way the street looks is really disgusting. You know, I spend money to fix up my house to make it look nice, only to see the street looking deteriorated. So it kind of hurts me because I take pride in my house. And unfortunately, I can't control my neighbors, but I can control myself because everybody takes care of their homes differently, and that's just a fact of life. But I still take pride in the streets that I drive through. And when I see this, I go walking every morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I do, you know, a route every day, and I just see it every day, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And then the question to me is, when does the city pay attention? When do they have any knowledge that the streets are deteriorating the way they are? I mean, it's really obvious. I mean, if you go down Heacock, you know, they just did by the Moreno Valley High School up to Sunnymead on Heacock, and then they stopped right at the high school on Cottonwood, and then you go down and you see how the rest of the street looks. That's a main travel fair. But inside the interior streets, there's no way to measure what the condition is. So we look at it and we drive by it and we just forget it. But you know, it's abusing your cars. There's big holes, literally big giant holes on Dresea. I've got pictures. I sent them to Elena. And it bothers me because it's all the way across the street, there are cracks and damage to the roads, and nothing's happening. I understand there's supposed to be some kind of process, but I think it needs to be a little bit more cleaned up. I think you need to have examples of what the streets look like, you know, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And then also the way the streets are repaired, you know, they're slurry sealed. Well, how long does that last? When is it going to be, you know, after 8 years, you know, the slurry seal is completely obliterated. So it looks terrible. So I want to tell the rest of the residents here that I hear a lot of their words and what they say and their concerns about the community, and I support a lot of what they're saying, even though I haven't been here, especially the police. Big supporter of that.
Thank you, Mr. Tom. And we'll make sure to connect you with staff as well so that we can get you any information that you need, as well as make sure that we address any of those concerns that you have.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming out.
The next three speakers are Martin Cabrera Sr., Pete Bleckard, and Sammy Luna.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council. Thank you, staff. It's an honor me to speaking here on behalf of our community. You know, the community elected Mr. Cabrera as a mayor. So he has done a terrific work so far in his short term. There's a agenda item G1, totally opposed to the people's decision. Moreno Valley residents totally disagree. Lack of transparency. Taking off mayor's duties, responsibilities is not democracy. So instead of focusing on denying somebody's power or authority, which legally is there, amended, does not talk right about certain members on the city council. I'm not talking to you, dear Baca Santa Cruz. So why do not focus in our youth in your district that needs a lot of help? That's what you need to do. Focus on serving the people who elected you, who you promised to serve. Look at the crime in your area. Generally talking, it's the worst part of the city. Please put attention to your duties and stop conspiring to the people who is doing a good job. All right? So I don't see any other member in this city council or members elected. I don't see nobody else so active as the mayor. He's here and there from A to C doing his job. Stop harassing him. Let him do his work. He has talent. he does have promises to the city to do better. Let him do his work. Let him talk about his work, what he can do. So I appreciate you listening. God gave us 2 ears. Why? Because we have to listen twice and speak once. So please do it. Do your work at the best convenience for the community and for democracy that you always been talking about democracy. Make it work. Thank you so much.
The next 3 speakers are Pete Bleckard, Sammy Luna, and James Armour.
Well, I come up here to talk about, well, I got a question after speaking last week about the red line of Edgemont. Even Elena don't even know where that line is. I grew up there, from grade school to high school. And to anybody to ask me that there is not a red line in the 3 votes that was done in Edgemont got to be voted because we always shut down the incorporation since 1962. How many of you were here in 1962? I voted against it in 1962. So that's how long, and I've been here a lot longer than that. But to sit there and question me, all them people ought to fact check it. When I tell you, facts check it, then call me and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I've been here. Now, as far as roads, I'll give you another thing. Brill Road, where I grew up, grade school to high school, the half I grew up on, still damn dirt. Been like that ever since I've been going to school. So, you know, I know everybody's got paved streets. Mine still, I don't live there no more, but I did all them years I went to school. Now, as far as the park, I talked about that. That was in the red line. I'm talking about the red line of Edgemont. Tell me where the park is and where you spent $3.75 on it, because I don't see it. Now, anybody wants to know where that red line is, I'll give you them lines. But all you have to do is open up your eyes and drive all around where the old houses are. That's Edgemont. That's where I grew up. The rest of it was dirt and dirt roads all the way from there to Moreno, Cottonwood, when I was a kid. So there was nothing out there. Fields. There was lots of potato fields, watermelons, and all the other things. There was nobody lived here. So all these people that complain was, you caused it to be this way because you moved here. I didn't cause it. But anyway, we need to do a little bit more. And the last thing I'd like to say, it's been 4 times that I can remember that everybody's been trying to get this council meeting changed to another day. I guess it failed. I know you guys don't like to listen to people, but that's your job.
The next 3 speakers are Sammy Luna, James Armour, and Roy Bleckard.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. We started this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, as I may remind you, has the words, "United we stand." United is something I have not witnessed historically in this council. Tonight, I am here to speak on item G1. This item has multiple proposed takeaways from the mayor's authorization, but ironically, the council members proposing these takeaways are the ones who proposed the increased scope of duties when we had a different mayor in place. How is it that this item hit the agenda without any public input or discussion between the council and mayor as originally agreed upon in the last meeting? I can't help but think there's some bias here. How are we going to move Moreno Valley forward when we have certain elected leaders here who aren't willing to engage in a progressive discussion? Each one of you has a legacy to leave as leaders in this city. Don't you want to leave a mark of peace, love, and unity? We trust and have faith that you will bring the city together regardless of your differences. It's time to change the narrative of this city, and it begins with you. Thank you.
The final 2 speakers are James Armour and Roy Bleckard.
How's it going, you guys? Thank you for having me today. It's a huge honor and much respect to everybody here, and it's a blessing. And I want to start off with what I'm going to say with a Bible verse. It's Hebrews 13:17. Obey your leaders, submit to them, for they keep watch over your souls, as those who will give an account. Let them do this with joy, not with grief, for this would be unprofitable for you. I'm here to humbly ask that if we could please reconsider G1. We have a new leader in town, and it's really essential that we have that we show other cities that our leader is strong and can get the job done. And looking at G7, at number 7, it says, serving as the primary spokesman for the city on all matters affecting the city regardless of this district. I believe that our mayor should be representing us, and I would like to have the council reconsider and seeing if we could at least get a public opinion, maybe a public forum where everyone can decide. But at the end of the day, I would like the city council to reconsider G1 so we can show the other cities that we have a strong leader and our leader is ready to get the job done and is willing and capable of getting the job done. Because I'll tell you something, if I became mayor and all these privileges got taken away from me right when I became mayor, I would be pretty heartbroken. And I think it would just be amazing if we could all come together and stand together on this and show California that Moreno Valley got what it takes to be one of the best cities in California. Thank you.
The final speaker is Roy Bleckard.
As a point of order before my time starts, was A2 continue to a future meeting? So that's completely off the table.
That's correct.
Thank you. So it sounded like, and I was listening a little bit before I got to, we're making a little bit of progress. We'll start off on something positive. I'd like to thank Ms. Bernard for putting it out there and finally putting the discussion out there that we're going to do these meetings to work for the people. Exactly why those three that are sitting in the center who voted against Elena Baca Santa Cruz's motion and Shaylinda voted for it, to allow us to speak and not have conflicts. We have a conflict tonight. You know what? We're going to bury our second deputy in this county. Right now, Melinda Young, Val Verde school board member, put out a deal that they're planning on, that there's a proposal to defund or get rid of the Val Verde Police Department. Now, how in the hell do you think I'm going to comment at 6 o'clock on January 17th here and there at the same damn time? You run us through this stuff, the three of you voted for it and wouldn't even discuss it. I'm saying that you just gave the middle finger to every citizen in this community. You want to bring healing, you want to bring people together. There is no way from your actions that you're even coming close to that, you three. We sit and we run and we hear all the stuff. You know what? There's rules and procedures to put people under oath. I'm tired of hearing, as I did in the last time Mr. Marquez was heard, and running this stuff. Let's put people under oath. And let's get this stuff straightened out. Because you've heard the turmoil that's been going on. You know it, you've heard it here to do, and you've heard what's going on in this community and across our state and across our nation. And it doesn't change. It will not change if ones like you on the dais and daises across this nation sit here and bicker and bitch and moan and gripe and run your stuff, and the political parties and your supporters and my friends do this. No, you ain't working for this community. You're not working for the people. You're working for yourselves. This stuff has to change because our community, our state, and our nation deserves it. Now, I'm going to ask this one more time, and I'm going to ask to comment on A6 and G1 now so I could possibly get to the Valverde School Board.
Thank you, Mr.
Am I
Blackard.
going to be afforded that possibility right now?
If council members pull that item, we could certainly do that to allow that opportunity.
Valverde, sir.
I think we have 2 more speakers left on the list. If you could just allow us to just finish up with a public comment. Which items are you requesting to speak on?
A6 and G1. I'll even do them in 3 minutes, both.
The only issue is I don't want to, I want to make sure all members of the public, if they plan on speaking on that item, that they also have that opportunity. So does staff have any objections if we allow Mr. Blecker to speak on those items at this time?
I have no objections.
Okay, and that was 2 items?
Yes, I'll do them in 3 minutes. So
Okay, that was items A6 and which other
A6 and G1.
Okay. We're going to do this one time, and then let's meet and talk so that we
Yes,
can
we
make
need
sure
to
this
go
is
through
straightened
the
out
rule.
next
We'll
time.
talk about that.
Okay, go
Let's
right
go.
ahead.
So on A6, I asked for an explanation from the presiding officer why he did what he did, and we got one. Now, we'll see there's probably 7 of the, let's say, top prestigious communities on the interagencies and the public ones for the city. The mayor appointed himself as primary on 6 and alternate on 1. I'm submitting to you he did exactly what he accused the mayor, the former mayor, of doing, even better. So I'm proposing this. And I would say he shouldn't be on any of them, but I'm saying you can take one interagency committee and one of the other ones. That's ones you should be on. But I will say this, and this is most important, talking about the Valverde and talking about the issues I did. The Joint Task Force, that was the first subcommittee this city ever started. Has the school districts, the city, Lake Paris, has to do with our kids and like what I'm talking about. The only 2 that should be on that committee are Elena Baca Santa Cruz and Shaylinda Bernard. Because we do not want the 3 of you that consistently, for a year, would not let us speak, violated your rules and procedures, violated the Brown Act, the California and the United States Constitution, and not letting us talk. For over a year. We'll talk about A2 when it comes up. Now to G1. The rules and procedures, and I think the modifications are good, and we should have that discussion of all that. Council rules and procedures, maybe actually having a discussion about how we can talk at all these meetings without conflicts. But the one thing, and it was MLK Day yesterday, but the one thing we should always protect is the minority position. And the one thing you should change, and you should change it right now, there should not be a majority of the council. It should be 1 and a second, because I don't want my representative or anybody's representative not to get the discussion and not to get things on the agenda. That was there to silence people, and that was wrong. That's why you should redo the rules and procedures, get rid of the conflicts of the meetings, and actually listen, and maybe one day we'll actually turn the reputation of this city around. I hope that day comes. It better, or we're going to have more of what we had, and that is unacceptable.
Thank you.
The next 2 speakers are Patricia Alvarado and Luis Palomares.
Hi. Good night, everybody, and thank you for let me talk, okay? I'm here to support Ulises Cabrera, but I want to say something. What happened, sorry, but I'm sorry. What happened if we don't respect our authority? How many here are a head on a family? What happened if you don't have an authority like a head? Ulises is our head of the city. What happens if no one respect his authority and he cannot give you orders and full orders? People talking when we vote for you. So we expect you to do it, right? So no let no one take your authority, right? It's like a family. Family has a husband and wife, right? Who is the head? The wife? Sometimes, right? But, for example, I'm talking about the reality, okay? We can be the more smart woman. I can be the more strong woman. But told Stephen, who have the last word in my house, I never take his authority because he's the man. He's the one is in my head. And that made me look like a respect woman. Because if I don't respect others, how can I ask for respect me? So I'm here to support Ulises Cabrera, and you have to take all the rights. Why? Because we want that. Community wants that. We vote for you. And we expect to working together. Once again, we need to work on peace together. Bring projects. I want to come in here and hear something good for the city. Every time when I come in here, I want to hear something good, some project. What you guys doing? Still fighting each other like a kids? Okay, that's only that I need to say. Working together as a team for the city. People over there, they kill, we have a drugs, we have a problems, and here, fight it again. No, you don't. You cannot do it. Do it. Come on, we're not kids. We adults, responsibles, okay? And I don't have nothing for no one. I just here, and I always want to be here and coming to say, to remember you guys there for our community, thinking in our community. This is not a war, you know? This is working together as a team. Thank you. Good night.
The final speaker is Luis Palomares.
Wow. Me and Bob are equals in our house. He's the man, but wow. We need each other 100%. That's why we've been together 56 years later, because that's the way it runs in my house. If I let him run all over me, or I ran all over him, but there'd be hell to catch. Anyway, saying all that, you know, they were talking about the duties of the mayors. Well, the other mayor could be trusted with this power and these duties, but you can't, and you've already proved it. You've already proved it since you've been the mayor. You've already proved it. Now, you gave your friend here, Lefty, Marcus, you gave him, I think, 6 committees. He can't even show up to meetings. Good luck. So when he don't go, you go as the alternate. Cabrera, you go. Hey, wait a minute. You go as his alternate. You take care of it. Well, since you don't work, you can spread yourself very all over the map. So you take care of his committees when he don't show up. Wow, it's amazing. That's why you can't be trusted with all this power, because you're drunk with power. And you're still a liar, fake, phony, and a fraud in my book, because that's how you won your election. I'm sorry, but it's true. And, you know, we got to go kumbaya and let's go forward. And we are. And the staff's doing a great job. No matter what's going on here, behind the scenes, they're taking care of business. They're doing what they need to do. Last time Marcus said, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Well, he don't even know what goes on in front of the scenes. So he's not equipped. He doesn't got it together. So I don't know how Cabrera, good luck. Good luck on this ride with him for the next 2 years. Anyway, saying all that, also, on another note, let me calm myself down here. Sammy Luna, I think it's Sammy Luna, you know, she's lobbying the mayor for the homeless thing. Hey, we need it. We need what we need. But you go out and get the money. They want the staff, everybody to get for the grants here so that they can come and say, oh, give it to me now. create a job for themselves. Create a job for themselves. Where are they going to put all these shelters? You know, I hope they put them with the buses and everything else where the people can get around and do what they got to do. So, you know, they're just lobbying and lobbying. You know, they're Cabrera's base. They come and lobby him every chance and they're going to have a, you know, what is it, a study session about it? Okay, good. Okay, on another note, let me calm myself down again. I wanted to say, oh golly, our condolences go out to these officers. It's horrific what happened here. It's horrific, and we need to do what we got to do to give our sheriffs everything.
Thank you, Ms. Palomares.
That concludes public comments.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That brings us to next thing on our agenda, which is, would any council members like to make their reports and comments at this time? Please hit your speaker button if you would like to do that now. Seeing none, we're now going to move on to our joint consent calendars, section A through E on the agenda. All items listed under the consent calendars, section A, B, C, D, and E, are considered to be routine in nature and non-controversial and may be enacted by one motion unless a member of the City Council or any affiliated agency requests that an item be removed for separate action. The motion to adopt the consent calendars is deemed to be a separate motion by each agency and shall be so recorded by the city clerk. Items withdrawn for report or discussion will be heard after the public hearing items. Are there any council requests to remove items at this time for separate action or discussion? Please hit your speaker button here. I see one Councilmember Baca, Santa Cruz.
I'd like to pull item A6.
Item A6. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So A6 will be moved to item H on the agenda. That moves us to entertain a motion by council to approve the consent calendars, excluding item A6 and A2, which was continued to the next city council meeting.
I make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please call for a vote.
And that includes B, C, D,
B, C, D, and E. Yes.
Very good.
Thank you. Okay, that passes 5-0. That is approved. And that now moves us to item F on the agenda, which is public hearings. Questions or comments from the public on a public hearing matter are limited to 5 minutes per individual and must pertain to the subject under consideration. Those wishing to speak should complete and submit a goldenrod speaker slip to the Sergeant at Arms. Item F1 is an appeal of the Planning Commission denial of general plan amendment, change of zone, conditional use permit for a planned unit development and a tentative tract map 37858 to subdivide a 4.81 acre project site into 37 single-family lots. That the City Council consider the appeal filed by R.C. Hobbs Company, appealing the Planning Commission's denial of the appellant's application for a general plan amendment, change of zone, conditional use permit, and tentative tract map to facilitate 37 lot single family residential planned unit development located north of Cactus, east of Moreno Beach, and take any action that the City Council deems appropriate. Item F1 was continued from the previous council meeting. Therefore, there is no presentation of staff or appellant or public testimony at this time. The two council members absent on January 3rd, which were Mayor Pro Tem Delgado and Councilmember David Marquez, were advised to review the video from that meeting. At this time, I would like to ask those two colleagues here, I'll start with Mayor Pro Tem Delgado, if you have had a chance to review the video from the council meeting.
Yes, I did. I watched the video from January 3rd public hearing, which included all public testimony, the oral staff report, the applicant's testimony, and the council comments and questions. I also reviewed the staff report and all attachments. Thank you.
Thank you. And same question for Councilmember Marquez.
Yes, Mayor, I did review the video through entirety. I have the report from staff. I had also viewed the comments by the residents and by the developer.
Thank you, Councilmember Marquez. That now brings us to the council deliberation, which is where we left off from the last council meeting. And so at this time, I'll open it to the council. Please, if you would like to speak and make some comments, please hit the speaker button here on the screen, and I'll make sure to call on you. And we will go ahead and open council deliberation here if desired. Here on our list, I see Mayor Pro Tem Delgado.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I did miss the meeting, and I apologize for missing the meeting, but life happens. I did review all videos and testimony, and I read the staff report. In addition to that, I also went to the site, and I met with a neighbor, and not to make a decision then and there, but to get more informed on what was going on with this. I really had to visualize what was going on because I can hear it all day, but until I see it and put hands on it, I really didn't understand. I understand it a lot more now, and I do have some questions for our Public Works Director, if I can ask some questions. Or, I'm sorry, Michael, is that okay?
Is that okay with staff?
Yes. So, on Bradshaw Circle, if this project is denied, and the appeal, the denial is upheld by council this evening, does the contractor still have the ability to build there?
The contractor would have the ability to submit a new tentative track map that meets our current general plan designation and zoning.
And which is R5?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, so regardless of what so take the private road out of it. If this is denied on rezoning, he can still come back and resubmit and continue to build there.
That is correct, sir.
Right? So then you go back to the actual private road. Nothing changes.
That's correct.
The cars that are going to be in the new current R5 zone are still going to be driving on that, because that is the only way in or out of the proposed project.
That is correct.
So I will ask, what if that private road wasn't there?
So the
private road's not there.
So the developer would have to come up with a feasible means to provide legal access to the nearest public street, which is Cactus.
Okay, so that's if the project doesn't get approved tonight. If the project does get approved tonight, are we asking, so there's different contractors in different areas, different properties. This is the first one, Hobbs. So are we asking Hobbs Construction to complete the entire road that covers their project?
That's correct. So what I refer to as the east leg of Bradshaw Circle, which is adjacent to this proposed project, the project's been conditioned and the applicant has agreed to construct full width street improvements that meet our current city standards. And therefore, as the project progresses, they would construct those improvements, at which time, upon completion and final inspection by the city would then take over the maintenance of that portion of the street.
Okay, so Hobbs builds their tract. They redo the street in that section, the east section, by Miss Painter's house.
That's correct.
Now that's done. It's city-owned. The construction that occurs across from Mr. Reddit, his house, we are going to require them to do the exact same thing. So now you have 2/3 of this private way repaved brand new to your standards. City takes over to maintain it.
That is correct, sir.
That leaves 1/3. Happens again. The contractor on the west side, I guess, right?
Right, for west leg of the circle.
Thank you. The west leg, we tell the property owner, hey, you want to build something here, you got to do what those two others did on the middle and the east legs.
That is correct. Upon a submittal of an application for review and approval by the city, that would be a comment. And
But we, as a city, are going to commit to make them do that.
that's correct.
So that gets done, however long it gets done. At the end of the day, their private street is now city-owned.
That is correct.
And so devil's advocate here, is that not my understanding? Is that accurate? So we're on record as saying that's accurate, okay? Timing. So Hobbs is first, across from Mr. Reddit's second, and then the only vacant is third. Do we have any idea when that would be done? I mean, I know we're not fortune tellers, and I get that, but is there anything in the works right now to say that property on the west leg is being even proposed to build?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Potem. At this time, there is no application for that particular parcel. So once again, it is based on market, and once the application is submitted based on the property owner's request, and we will process said application.
Okay. I think that's it for me. And again, I'm not, we have to find a fair balance here. The fair balance between, they're going to build anyways. So we need to require them to do what we want them to do to make their street livable and to take the liability off of them. When I talked to the resident, her main concern wasn't the amount of cars, and that was an afterthought, and that was certainly something. Her main concern was she was going to be liable for something that happened on that road because she was responsible for that. We need to take that away from them, that liability, and absorb that into the city. And if you're committing to me, to this council tonight, that's what the game plan is, then we might as well get something out of it, because if we don't, or if we continue with the denial and they build anyways, then they get nothing, or they get nothing. They don't get what they want out of this, and that's release of liability for sure, and a nice, clean way to get into their home. That's all I have. Thank you.
The next speaker we have here is Councilmember Marquez.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Can I ask the applicant some questions?
Yes.
City Attorney?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Hobbs,
Is the applicant here?
yes, he is.
Okay. Yeah, feel free to come up to the podium here. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Roger Hobbs. I'm the property owner and the developer for the subject tract.
I got
Subject community.
several questions for you.
Sure.
Who actually owns the property outright?
I do.
You do?
Yes.
I had rumors were spreading around that some church owned it.
The church was the seller of the property to my company, which I own 100%.
You have a deed to it.
Yes.
The property adjacent to yours on the east side, you had made an offer to purchase that property, correct?
We never made an offer. We made contact with them, and they were not willing to entertain an offer or sell.
Have you at any time maybe asked to swap properties? I mean, was that an option, or did you guys think about that, maybe swapping properties with
Really
another?
never considered swapping the property.
You don't think that they might just decide to not sell, but say, hey, I'll swap property so you can do your project? You ever thought about that? That could be an option?
Well, the owner of that property resides in China, and it's 10 acres. We have 5. They're not going to swap 10 acres for 5. And they have no intention of selling the property. Last time we made contact, which is probably now in the summer of 2022.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you very much on your part there. the signatures that the residents had signed was more over 100 signatures. I know that there's not 100 people living in that area on Cactus or Bradshaw. So there's more people on the outlining of this project that are interested or not, or don't want the project built. There's some on other streets. There's some across the street on Cactus in District 4 that I understand from the gated community that are against the project. But these residents that don't live within that immediate area, their concern was traffic and the liability to the residents that live there. What bothers me is, if this is a great project, don't get me wrong, and City of Moreno Valley needs homes built. Believe me, I don't want the state to come in here in a couple of years because we have a mandated date and say, you will build this here, you will build that there. I don't want that. But at the same time, I don't want to infringe on residents in the area where they own property. They are been, now I'm not saying intimidated, but come there forcefully trying to get them to sell their property or agree built on that street. I was hoping that maybe the developer can, if this doesn't get approved, to look at other projects or other development within that property owns, where he doesn't have to use Bradshaw. The people that live or own the property next door, like the applicant says, they live in China. Wow, what do you do? So, it's one of those those predicaments that the city is in. It's a good project, but the residents don't want it. The residents want it, but it's not a good project. It's just one of those things. I have never encountered this as long as I've been on the council. It's going on 7 years. And it all boils down to that private road. Only entrance into the project and exit from that project. And that's very disturbing also. So with that being said, I'm just going to leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. And next on the list here, we have Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz.
Thank you. I have a question about Bradshaw Circle. If the developer on the east and northeast side is upgrading the entire street from both sides, what about the two developers on the north side? Will they be developing both sides of the street?
The projects on the north leg were conditioned for half plus a travel lane, but I'm confident when we speak with them through construction, we find oftentimes that those developers are willing to give us additional pavement, and that will be the case, so we'll have full street improvements along their frontage.
Okay, and will we accept the dedication of those streets as they are built, or will it be contingent that the entire street be?
No, it would
We'll be accepting them as the developments are, okay.
That's correct, per phase.
I had heard differently, I think, from the last. Okay, perfect, thank you. That's all my questions.
Thank you. Would any other council members like to share any comments or questions at this time? Okay, seeing none. At this time, I'll entertain a motion by the council regarding this item.
I motion to approve the appeal. So to approve the project. No, to deny, yeah, approve the appeal.
For clarification from staff, would that be number 2, recommendation number 2 on the agenda?
It's the one that comes after or. So it'd be adopt resolution number 222, 2022 XX attached here 2. So it's the second option, which involves the adoption of two resolutions and an ordinance.
Okay, and so Councilmember for clarification, your motion is to approve. Do you mind just clarifying once
Sure.
again?
My motion to adopt resolution number 2022 XX attached here to adopting the initial study mitigated negative declaration prepared for general plan amendment Pen 200174, the change of zone Pen 200175, the tentative track map, and the conditional use permit for the plan unit development.
I'll
you.
second that.
And just for clarification from staff, this motion, a yes vote, again, this is one of those votes that is a little tricky. But so the staff, or for the public to be aware, the motion that's currently been seconded and is on the floor would approve this project, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Are there any alternate motions, any other motions that the council would like to make?
So for clarification, so the recommendation is basically to grant the appeal, and you will have to move to adopt the first resolution under number 1 and the second resolution under number 2. So the first resolution would approve, that's the CEQA resolution, that approves the initial study of the mitigated negative deck, and it adopts the mitigation monitoring and reporting program. That's the CEQA resolution. The second resolution that needs to be approved, if you want to approve the project, is the one that approves the general plan amendment and approves the conditional use permit and the tentative track map. And the third decision has to be to introduce the ordinance approving the change of zone.
Yes, that's
Thank
the
you,
motion.
City Attorney. Thank you. Okay, please call for a vote. Okay, that the motion fails, vote of 3 noes to 2 yeses. Any additional comments from staff before we move on to the next item? Okay.
That
seeing
will require adopting resolution, the first resolution denying appeal of PAA 220004.
Okay. I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-XX denying the appeal PAA 220004. And I'm seeking a second.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please call for a vote. Yeah, Councilmember, did you mean to?
Yeah, I didn't mean.
Okay.
Retract that vote.
Can we call for that vote one more time, please?
The vote.
There we go. Okay. Now that motion passes 3 yeses, 2 noes. And Mr. City Attorney, you said now you'd like us to move to 2 or 3, or is that
No,
enough?
that's sufficient. So that, the vote you just took adopted a resolution that denies the appeal, which means that the Planning Commission denial of the project stands.
Understood. Thank you. Okay. That moves us to item F2 on the agenda, which is a public hearing for 1 national pollutant discharge elimination system mail ballot proceeding. And we have a report of financial and management systems.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, council members. This item is much easier than F1. It is a very routine item, as our city's current NPDES permit requires all new development projects to comply with the stormwater management requirements within the city. Therefore, the current developer, KB Home Coastal, is requesting of staff to enter into the permit system. Therefore, this particular action before you is to conduct a public hearing to accept public testimony for the mail ballot proceeding, direct city clerk to open the NPDES ballot, verify and accept the results of the mail ballot, and receive and file the official tally sheet of the vote. Again, this is one developer, KB Homes, that is looking to annex into our NPDES systems permit. Or sorry, not annex, but be part of our NPDES permit. With that, I am done with my presentation. I'll be here for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Brian. That concludes staff report. That brings us to council questions of staff. If there are any, please hit your speaker button on the screen. Okay, I see questions from Councilmember Marquez.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Brian, the name KB Homes, it's well known in the region, probably statewide. What's throwing me off, it says Coastal Incorporated. Is that the same company as regular KB Homes? Is that a different company?
A lot of developers create various entities for certain developments. So yes, although this is KB Homes, they probably have a coastal incorporation that is building certain developments in this regional area. It's a way that they break up their incorporation to limit the liabilities of the overall corporate structure.
Different funding, basically. Okay, that's the only question I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, at this time, this moves us to the hearing. At this time, I'll open the hearing. City Clerk, are there any speakers for this item?
There are no speakers, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'll go ahead and close the hearing. At this time, I entertain a motion by the City Council to approve staff's recommendations, number two, to direct the City Clerk to open and count the returned ballot.
I move.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Please call for a vote. Okay, that motion carries, and that moves us, or I entertain a motion by council to approve staff's recommendations, number 3 and 4.
I'll go ahead and open the ballot, Mayor.
Yes, go right ahead.
The ballot has been signed, dated, and it's a yes vote, so it's a valid ballot.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And at this time, I entertain a motion by council to approve staff's recommendations, number 3 and 4.
I move.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Marquez, second by Mayor Pro Tem Delgado. Please vote. That motion carries as well, approved unanimously. And that brings us to item G on the agenda, which is general business. And on tonight's council agenda, we have one item for general business, which is item G1, which is this.
For the consent calendar? For the consent calendar?
Yes, that's after items G. Item G1 on the agenda is a discussion of proposed changes to the scope of the mayor's duties and responsibilities. We have a report of the city attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the record, Brian, G1 is harder than F1 and F2 and everything else on the agenda. So there you go. So earlier, we heard a member of the public comment about respecting authority. And I'd just like to point out, in my family, it was the women who ran the household because I had 6 sisters and I was outnumbered. And my dad just told me that's just one of the tragedies of democracy. So at this point, I'd like to just make a comment about, the role of the city council versus the role of the city attorney. The role of the city council is that they are the policymakers. They are elected and they're held accountable by the voters for making policy decisions. And the role of the city attorney is basically a technician. It's my challenge to figure out what the objectives of whoever I'm talking to on the council and coming up with a means for achieving that objective, from a legal perspective. So basically, I'm like a mechanic. I just here to kind of keep the family car running so it doesn't break down or loses its wheels. And I think it's important to point that out because I don't want the public to overestimate the importance of the city attorney. It's not the city attorney who makes the policy. It's not the city manager who makes the policy. It's not the city clerk who makes the policy. We're here to to do our best to advise the city council on what they should do or what they can do to meet their objectives. So that brings up the issue of how something like this that was voted on back in the summer of 2022 by basically members of the same city council, and how that policy is now being proposed to be changed. That happens often when we see a change in the elected officials, so it's nothing that's unusual. And I'm not saying this to offer any commentary on whether or not I personally think these proposed changes are good or bad. That is up for a majority of this, that's up to the majority of the city council to decide for itself. So in June, with that said, let me give you some background here. So in June 2022, the city council unanimously voted to approve ordinance number 988. And ordinance 988 is an ordinance that basically established the, or describes the duties and responsibilities of the elected mayor in the city of Moreno Valley, which is a general law city. Now, these duties and responsibilities were derived from a variety of sources, which includes numerous state codes, case law, attorney general opinions, legal treatises that are applicable to cities, and the city rules of procedure for council meetings and related functions and activities, which I just referred to as rules of procedure. We also gathered some of these rules from the Standard Code of Parliamentary Procedure, which includes like over 200 pages of additional regulations. So at the time that this ordinance was being considered back in the late spring of 2022, I sat down with the mayor, the former mayor at the time, and what was described to me were the numerous duties and responsibilities that he wanted to propose to his colleagues to adopt as official duties and responsibilities of the mayor. And so it was my challenge and it was my role to advise the mayor on whether or not the city could actually indeed adopt a rule or a policy or a procedure. So that required me to look at all these various legal authorities to determine whether or not there are certain rules and procedures that cannot be changed because they're set forth in state code or attorney general opinion or case law. So I looked at those and I made a determination that there are a variety of rules that we cannot change. However, all these other rules and all these other procedures that describe the duties and responsibilities of the mayor, all those additional rules were discretionary, meaning that the council could adopt those rules, waive those rules, maintain those rules, or modify those rules. So that's how I approached this. And I took a similar approach to this second round of changes. So what I think might be helpful is for me to just quickly go through this list of duties and powers and authorities of the mayor that cannot be changed, since we are a general law city with a directly elected mayor. So as a general law city with a directly elected mayor, there are certain state code provisions and attorney general opinions and case law that tell us exactly what cannot be changed. So these include the mayor has all the powers and duties of a member of the city council. That's in the government code. In fact, all of these that I'm going to go through are from the California government code. The mayor may participate in decision-making and make or second any motion and present and discuss any matter as a member of the city council. The mayor must sign all written contracts and conveyances made or entered into by the city as approved by the city council, unless otherwise provided by our local procedures. The mayor is also considered to be the presiding officer at all council meetings, but it's a majority of the council who makes the decision on behalf of the council. The mayor has a duty to adhere to and enforce the procedural law or rules applicable to the city council and to keep order and follow the course of the proceedings. The mayor or another officer in control of the police force, which in some cases may be our police chief, must direct a sufficient number of police officers to attend and keep order at any public meeting at which, in the mayor's opinion or the police chief's opinion, a breach of peace may occur. The mayor is also the presiding officer who may call special meetings of the city council, and that's out of the Brown Act, which is in the government code, but I want to point out that that same provision of the government code allows a majority of the council to call special meetings, which we currently have in place in our rules of procedure. The mayor may also, with the approval of the city council, make all appointments to boards, commissions, and committees unless otherwise specifically provided by statute. And finally, the mayor may order the removal of any individual who disrupts a city council meeting after providing a warning to that individual. That particular rule was just put into effect January 1st of this year, and some of us know that as coming from Senate Bill number 1100. So those are basically the rules, the procedures, the duties and responsibilities that cannot be changed. Or if they can be changed, we can make some minimal revisions to them. So where did the rest of these rules come from? Well, the rest of the rules that we have currently in this ordinance come from our local policies and procedures, and again, those are from our rules of procedures and the standard code of parliamentary procedures, which I have here is 250 additional pages of rules and procedures. And the way that works is that if there's some ambiguity in our rules of procedure when we are trying to apply them, we have to go to the standard code of parliamentary procedures to determine whether or not there's any further clarification on how to apply that particular rule. But again, those rules and procedures and duties and responsibilities that are set forth in the rules of procedure and standard code of parliamentary procedures can be changed by the city council. So in other words, they're discretionary. So I met, again, this item is being brought back for discussion purposes. I don't expect that the council will be taking any action on this. So the idea behind this was, it was introduced, it's being introduced for discussion purposes. That's based on the motion and the motion that was passed at the last meeting. It was to bring this back for discussion purposes. If the council wants to take any further action to memorialize these changes to these rules and procedures, it will have to come back in the context of an ordinance or ordinances and one or two resolutions that go through all of these rules and procedures that we have in place to formally memorialize them and to put them into effect. So this is just the first step in this process, assuming that the council moves forward with wanting to make these changes. So at this point, I think what might be the most productive thing to do is just quickly go through these rules that we currently have in place and to describe what these two council members, Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz and Mayor Pro Tem Ed Delgado, met with me on to discuss. So I'll just go through them real quickly. There's a lot of them, and I'll do this real fast. So the first responsibility in this ordinance is has the mayor serving as primary liaison between the city and any other jurisdictions unless otherwise designated by the mayor at any given time. It has been recommended that this provision be eliminated. If it is eliminated, it will simply allow every council member to communicate with any representatives of another jurisdiction regarding any matter affecting their particular districts. The second one provides that the mayor serving as the primary liaison between the city and local civic organizations unless otherwise designated by the mayor at any given time. The recommendation is also to eliminate this provision, and this will simply allow each council member to engage or communicate with representatives of any local civic organization, such as a Rotary Club, Seropolis, American Legion, about any city-related matter, but particularly with respect to those matters that may affect their districts. And this is subject to the limitation that no council member is permitted to speak on behalf of the entire city council, nor are they empowered nor will they be empowered to make any decisions or offer any financial sponsorship or other support commitments on behalf of the city. Number three is the mayor serves as chairperson on the city's disaster council. There's no recommendation to change this. Number four, the mayor serves as ambassador to the city for state and national agencies. There's no recommendation to change that. The mayor welcomes visiting dignitaries to the city. There's no recommendation to change that. The sixth one is that the mayor receives all correspondence directed to the city's chief elected official. The proposal is to modify this to read that the mayor shall be responsible for receiving all correspondence, telephone calls, emails, or other forms of communications directed to the chief's city's chief elected official with copies or content of such communications simultaneously provided or conveyed to each council member whose district is affected, impacted, or referenced in the subject communication, so that the council members are afforded the opportunity to respond accordingly to any requested actions in lieu of the mayor. The seventh item is the mayor serves as a primary spokesperson for the city on all matters affecting the city, regardless of the affected district. The recommendation is to eliminate this provision to allow each council member to engage or communicate with the media and their constituents and local businesses regarding any matter affecting their districts. Number 8, the mayor presides over all press conferences on behalf of the city. It is recommended that this provide that that this does not preclude individual council members from presiding over press conferences regarding issues affecting their districts, even though the issues may affect other districts as well. So this doesn't permit a council member to go out there and speak on issues that do not affect their own districts or to hold press conferences to that effect. Number 9, the mayor makes public appearances on behalf of the entire city at special events. It's being recommended that this be modified to not preclude council members from also making appearances at those same special events if the event takes place within their district or involves volunteers or participants from their districts. Number 10, the mayor publicizes and promotes policies and other matters approved by the city council. It's being proposed that this be eliminated to allow each council member to publicize, promote policies and other matters approved by the city council that affect their districts. And again, this is subject to the limitation that no council member is permitted to speak on behalf of the entire city council, nor are they empowered to make any decisions or offer any financial, sponsorship, or other support commitments on behalf of the city. Number 11 is the mayor publicizes and promotes current city programs, services, and special events. It's being proposed that this be eliminated so that each council member is permitted to publicize and promote current city programs, services, and special events that affect their districts. Number 12, the mayor represents the city on matters of general concern to the city via the broadcast media. It's proposed that this be amended to allow council members to engage with the broadcast media to represent their districts on matters affecting their districts. Number 13, the mayor approves the issuance of city proclamations and signing of all proclamations that have received confirmation of support by at least 2 council members. It's being proposed that the issuance of city proclamations, and I'll put in and the issuance of plaques and the issuance or approving letters of commendation be approved by a majority of the city council at a notice public meeting of the city council. So anytime that there's a decision to issue a proclamation, issue a plaque, or issue a letter of commendation, that those have to be approved by the city council, by a majority of the city council at a council meeting. The mayor signs all resolutions and ordinances unless otherwise provided by city policy. That's set forth in the government code. There's the only proposed change is that last clause, which says unless otherwise provided by city policy, and that's currently set forth that way in the government code. The mayor signs all contracts unless otherwise provided by city policy. There's no recommendation to change that, but I just want to point out that in our city, we do have a city policy that allows the mayor or the city council to delegate to the city manager, and in very rare occasions to the city attorney to sign various contracts. Number 18 is the mayor signs all city instruments requiring the city seal. For the life of me, I couldn't figure out what that means since the government code already defines what documents shall be signed by the mayor. Number 19, the mayor signs all warrants drawn on the city treasurer. There's been a recommendation that we amend that to include unless otherwise by city policy, because in fact, that's allowed by the government code, and in fact, that's what we do. We have an alternative policy to that, and I believe that maybe it's Brian who signs our warrants. The warrants are basically the bills of the checks that we have to cut. Probably a technical term for that, but I call them checks. Number 20 is the mayor approves monetary rewards Again, this would be subject, the recommendation is to make that subject to approval by a majority of the city council at a city council meeting. Number 21, the mayor approves recipients eligible to receive a key to the city. That is also, it's also being recommended that who's eligible to receive a key to the city be approved by a majority of the city council at a council meeting. Number 22, the mayor approves recipients eligible to receive an award of valor. Again, it's being recommended that decision be made by a majority of the city council at a notice public meeting. Number 23, the mayor presents all proclamations, plaques, letters of commendation, keys to the city, and awards of valor, unless, and this is the recommendation, unless that particular proclamation or plaque or letter of commendation is being presented to an individual who resides or a business that's physically located in a particular district. And in that case, a council member of that respective district, if he or she requests to make the presentation, then they should be allowed to make that presentation. Again, only if it involves a business or a resident located or residing within their district. Number 24 is the mayor may order the suspension of normal bidding or purchasing requirements. This comes up in cases where we have emergencies. We actually implemented this during the COVID pandemic. At this point, there's really no recommendation on this. My recommendation is that we keep that intact. It's currently in the municipal code. That's something that is very critical for the for the mayor to have that authority, because we don't always have the opportunity to get everything ready for a formal agenda in cases of an emergency. Number 25, the mayor coordinates the performance evaluation process regarding the city manager, city attorney, and city clerk. There's no recommendation to change that. Number 26, the mayor nominates the mayor pro tem subject to a majority vote of the entire membership of the city council. The default is exactly what you guys did at the last meeting, and that is individual council members will be able to make those nominations. So again, these, even though we had that in place, there was, at the last meeting, the nominations were, each council member was allowed to make nominations. Number 27, the mayor designates, we talked about that, designates a number of police officers to attend in the event we know there's going to be some issue. Number 28, the mayor may require the sergeant of arms to carry out all orders given by the mayor for the purpose of maintaining order and decorum at any public meeting. That is set forth in the government code. There's no recommendation to change that. The mayor orders persons interrupting a public meeting to be seated or keep quiet and call for their arrest if the person does not comply. This has been superseded by Senate Bill 1100. And this, again, just authorizes the mayor to order the removal of any individual who actually disrupts a city council meeting after the mayor provides a warning. Number 30, the mayor may require witnesses to be sworn in at public hearings. That, since I've been here, we've never done that. I would suggest that we, swear in witnesses at a public hearing if it's either requested by a majority of the city council at the beginning of the public hearing or requested by the city attorney on an as-needed basis. And this swearing in should be administered by the city clerk. Number 31, the mayor serves as the presiding officer at all meetings. That's a government code provision, which we can't change. Number 32, the mayor calls special meetings of the city council. That's set forth in the Brown Act. And again, a majority of the city council has the authority to call a special meeting, and this is currently addressed in our rules of procedure. Number 33, the mayor approves special proceedings for joint meetings. It's been proposed that this be stricken or eliminated because this can actually be done on an ad hoc basis. I recall several years ago when I was here on my first tour of duty, we had a joint meeting with the school district. And at that time, it was the city clerk who met with her counterpart at the school district, the secretary to the board, I believe that was it. The city manager met with the executive director of the school district. Is that the proper name for executive director? And I met with their legal counsel, and we sat down together and came up with a proposal on how to conduct the meeting. And of course, both parties are subject to the Brown Act, so there's not a lot of wiggle room. Not finally, oh boy. Number 34, the mayor approves all items on the city council meeting agendas. Now, it has been recommended that this be removed and instead it's being recommended that we have a standard item on the agenda called approval of the agenda. And at that time, if any council member believes that or wants something to remove from the agenda, they'd have to make a motion to remove it. It'd have to be seconded, and it'd have to be approved by a majority of the city council. However, if the mayor or any other council members want to add an item to the future agenda, it's being recommended that we have a standard agenda item called future agenda items. And I've seen this on a number of other city council agendas. So at the end of the meeting, we come to the item called future agenda items. And at that time, any member of the council, including the mayor, can make a recommendation to add a future agenda item subject to a second and a majority vote. Number 35, the mayor approves the order of all agendas for the city council meetings and meetings of other legislative bodies solely consisting of members of the city council. It's being recommended that this be eliminated, and instead we again have a standard item on the agenda called approval of the agenda. And at that time, if the mayor wants to move anything around or any council member wants to move anything around as far as the order of the agenda, there would have to be a motion, a second, and a majority vote. Number 36, the mayor designates a parliamentarian for city council meetings and meetings of other legislative bodies solely consisting of members of the city council. It's being proposed that the rules of procedure to simply designate someone such, it could be me, I prefer not to, or it could be any other staff member who the council wants to appoint, who they believe is most knowledgeable about our parliamentary rules of procedure to serve as a parliamentarian for the city council during council meetings. That way, that decision does not change often, from meeting to meeting. Number 37, the mayor appoints all members of city commission, boards, and committees subject to approval of majority vote of the entire membership of the city council. That is a government code provision. One of the recommendations, however, is to allow each council member to send a list of at least 3 recommendations to the mayor, who would be obligated to nominate at least one person from each district list to serve on various commissions, boards, and committees. And this would remain consistent with the authority that's granted to the mayor to appoint all members of city commissions, boards, and committees. So that would be a major departure from our current practice. So again, the recommendation is to allow each district council member to produce a list of 3, 4, 5 nominees from which the mayor would pull the recommended appointments, and then that would be brought back to the city council to approve. And that will allow, it's my understanding that the purpose of that is to allow each district to have representation on every city commission, board, and committee. Number 38, the mayor appoints alternate members to commissions and boards subject to approval by the majority of the city council. Again, that's deprived from the same government code provision that authorizes the mayor to appoint all members of city commissions. And again, the recommendation there is also to allow each council member to come up with a list of recommendations or nominees to submit to the mayor, from which the mayor would pull the members that he recommends to appoint to these various commissions and boards and committees. And again, that is to guarantee that each commission and board in the city has a representative from each district. Number 39, the mayor makes emergency appointments. The recommendation is to have those emergency appointments subject to ratification by the council. So there are going to be instances where, we are going to need an appointment to to a commission or a committee, and it can't wait to the next council meeting. And this will allow the mayor to make those emergency appointments, but they would have to be brought back to be ratified by the city council at a council meeting. Number 40, The mayor screens all applicants for the planning commission, holding interviews unless the mayor designates the duty to another member of the city council. It's being proposed that this be eliminated to allow all council members to have the opportunity to review planning commissioner applications and to interview applicants. Number 41, the mayor reviews all board, commission, and committee applications. Again, this is also being recommended to be deleted to allow the city council members the opportunity to review all these applications for boards, commissions, and committees. And again, if these changes are adopted formally by the city council, this again will guarantee, these recommendations for appointments would come from the list of nominees that are provided by each council member for their districts. Number 42, the mayor fills special vacancies. This is also set forth in California Government Code. The only recommendation is that it's suggested that we amend this to make it subject to approval of the majority of city council. Number 43, the mayor directs the city clerk to make a local appointments list. On an annual basis, the city does have to produce an annual local appointments list. And this list is known as, local appointments list, and it contains information such as a list of all the appointed terms which will expire during the next calendar year with the name of the incumbent appointee, the date of the appointment, and the date the term expires. And it also needs to include a list of all the boards, commissions, and committees whose members serve at the pleasure of City Council, and describes the necessary qualifications for each position. Number 44, the mayor establishes City Council subcommittees and appointing all members of City Council subcommittees. I believe this issue is addressed in the California Government Code. And again, the recommendation here is simply to allow the majority of the City Council to approve those City Council subcommittees and the appointments at a City Council meeting. But I want to point out that this particular rule doesn't prohibit less than a majority of the City Council from meeting with staff, whether it's the city manager, the city clerk, or the city attorney, or the public works director. Well, I'll keep the public works director out there because he works for the city manager here. It doesn't prohibit less than a majority of them meeting with any of the City Council appointed officials to discuss any items of interest to them, as long as we avoid serial meetings, which are prohibited under the Brown Act. Number 45, the mayor may excuse the city manager, city attorney, or city clerk from attending city council meetings. It's suggested that this be eliminated because I was asked whether or not city manager, city attorney, or city clerk have to be formally excused from council meetings, and my response was no. Number 46, the mayor pre-approves all city paid travel for any council member who intends to attend a meeting that has members of the city council as members of the legislative body presiding over the respective meeting in situations wherein the subject council member does not officially serve on the subject legislative body. That's a tongue twister. That essentially requires approval by the mayor in the event that a council member wants to attend an event being held by one of these regional commissions that we serve on, and they're not either a primary or an alternate on those commissions. That's what that boils down to. I don't know when that would come up, but that was something that was added to this ordinance back in the summer of 2022. And finally, number 47, and I call this a mayor's superpowers ordinance. The mayor approves all censures of any council member who has committed any crimes of moral turpitude or violated any city policies or regulations subject to a majority vote of the city council. So it's being recommended that this be deleted and that instead proposed censures be added to a future agenda in the same manner that other future agenda items are added. And once again, there's a recommendation that we include a standing item on the agenda called future agenda items, and that's when the issue of censure can be brought up on a future agenda. So those are the recommended changes, and if the council wants to approve any of these changes or wants to consider formally adopting these changes or any variation of these changes, it's my recommendation that the city council provide direction to staff, which includes city attorney's office and the city clerk's office, to bring back the requisite ordinances or resolutions that formally make these changes. So that concludes my report on this particular item, and I will entertain any questions if anyone has any. Oh, I would recommend that the two Mayor Pro Tem Delgado and Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz add any input they have on this process.
Do we do that now?
Yeah, I would. Yes, it's part of the report.
Well,
so
let's
perspective.
There's going to be council questions of staff and deliberation as well. So let's just go down the agenda here. Thank you for that, City Attorney. So that was the staff report, and that brings us now to council questions of staff. If any members of the council would like to ask questions, please hit your speaker button here on the screen. I'll make sure to call on you. And I do have some questions for staff, for our city attorney. So thank you once again, Steve, for that presentation, for that report. And I'll go ahead and start off with the first question regarding the last meeting. At the previous city council meeting, Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz made a motion. It was seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Delgado. And we essentially basically had a discussion about it, which we probably should not have done. But my question would be the direction that was given to you. I went back and watched the video, and I believe the other members of the council did as well. So the direction that was given to you, I mean, if you need to pull up the minutes, please feel free to do that. But what exactly was the direction that was given to you for this particular item?
So when I started working on this project, I had that same question. It's like, what exactly was the direction provided to me? And so I actually asked the city clerk's office to prepare a verbatim transcript so I could figure out exactly what direction, I needed to follow. And the first thing that popped out is that this was to be brought back as a future agenda item, and it didn't identify which council meeting for discussion purposes. And so, and that happened on December 20th, 2022, and it was Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz. She made a motion to add the mayor's duties ordinance to a future agenda to consider amendments that will include, among other things, requiring the council to revisit the scope of the mayor's duties within a time frame after a new person assumes the duties of mayor through either an election or an appointment. Then there was a lot of discussion, and then after that discussion, Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz mentioned that the matter be discussed at a future date. I confirmed it would be brought back as a discussion item, after which Mayor Pro Tem Delgado was quoted saying, "I'll second that. We put it on a future agenda to discuss." And it was passed 3-2. And and so pursuant to Section 3.1, titled Agenda Items of our Rules Procedures, items may be placed on the agenda of any regular meeting, special meeting, or study session with the consent of a majority of the city council obtained during a public meeting of the city council. So I got from that I was supposed to bring this back for discussion purposes. And I had meetings with Mayor Pro Tem Delgado and Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz to receive direction on this. And in fact, since both of them have spoken to me, I had advised Councilmember Bernard that I've already spoken to two of her colleagues and that I could not, under the Brown Act, bring her in as part of that discussion.
Thank you, Steve. And so in that motion and the item that was voted on regarding this at the last council meeting, did the council give any direction to you to specifically meet with only two members of the council or any particular members of the council? Did the council give any direction to go through the ordinance, to make changes to it, like there is on the agenda tonight? On the agenda, if you go open up the staff report, a city attorney and in conjunction with two council members already went through the entire mayor's ordinance and made changes to it, taking things out and adding things in. Was that part of the direction that the council gave to you to do, or was it just strictly, basically, put the item on the agenda so that we can have a discussion about the substance of the ordinance, and at this meeting, make proposed changes to it, go through it, take things out? So did the council give you direction to specifically only talk to some members of the council and not others?
I got that direction from Mayor Pro Tem Delgado, who wanted to meet with me to discuss the issue, and Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz, who came to me and wanted to discuss the issue. My response to them is that, okay, you two talk to me about this. I cannot talk to any others on the council, any of your other colleagues.
So you were not given the direction to only meet with them by the council when this was voted on at the last council meeting. The direction was not to only meet with two members of the council. They, on their own, went to you and asked to speak with you about this item.
And at the same time, it wasn't prohibited from doing that. If I wake up tomorrow morning and come into the office and Councilmember Barnard comes to me and asks me questions and has a proposed policy, and she asks for my advice, I'm going to give it to her. If you, Mr. Mayor, came to me, like you sent me an email Sunday night, a couple weeks ago, I turned those around in one of them was like an hour, just to get out of the way, and the other one the next morning. You know, so if any of you come to me and you seek my advice, I'm going to give you my advice. And sometimes that advice comes in the form of a draft staff report, just to clarify, is this what you are planning on presenting to the city council?
Okay, so that was not part of the direction that was given, but you took it upon yourself and talked to two council members, and like you said, you ended up going that direction. So at the last council meeting, and again, we could replay this, and it's in the meeting minutes verbatim, Mayor Pro Tem Delgado, actually you first, city attorney, gave not a recommendation, but proposed the option that the city council could create a subcommittee comprised of two mayors of the council that would meet to look over the ordinance, make proposed changes, and bring it back at a future date to the full body for a final vote. Why was that subcommittee not even mentioned anywhere in the staff report if it was spoken about verbatim when we gave you direction?
Because no council subcommittee was established.
But you're making recommendations, right? And you don't
I'm
mention...
not making the recommendations, Mr. Mayor. That's not...
You together with two council members are making
I'm not
recommendations.
making those recommendations.
So it's solely the two council members. You're not making any recommendations. It's Mayor Pro Tem Delgado and Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz that are making these recommendations.
The only recommendations I'm making is give me some direction.
Okay. In June of 2022, and you brought this up in your report, this city council, Councilmember Bernard was not on the council at the time, but this city council brought an item to the agenda regarding this specific ordinance for the mayor's duties. It was approved unanimously, 5-0 unanimous. That ordinance is what we have in place today. At that meeting were the four of us, Councilmember Marquez, myself, Mayor Pro Tem Delgado, and Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz, both of who voted to approve and put in place the ordinance that we have today, word for word. I went back and watched it. There were no concerns about it. You guys didn't ask any, you asked maybe one question, but it wasn't any real issue that you had with the ordinance. Everyone was perfectly fine with it, and it got approved unanimously. And at that, actually tonight, if you could please just clarify, you mentioned that June meeting and leading up to it, how you put your staff report together and made those recommendations, right? So at that time, did you consult with the then mayor about these changes and hear his feedback as to what changes should be made?
Yes.
You did? Okay. So in the meeting, you are on record as saying that you did not consult with the mayor and that you did not seek his input and that he did not provide input to you. So that's one thing that is of concern to me, that there's two different things that are being said, and also I was not given the same opportunity, but we'll get to that. So on that same topic, we have already established, and we know that you met with 2 members of the council specifically on this item. Did you meet with any other members of the council for this item?
No. Councilmember Bernard inquired about it.
Okay.
And then when I let her know I'm talking to 2 other council members who are working with me on it, therefore, I believe it would be a Brown Act violation if I were to discuss it with her as well.
Mm-hmm. And so, before I get back to this question, let's talk about the Brown Act, since it's been brought up. In what situations, using this as an example, why would you not be able to speak to all 5 of us? Obviously, you can't tell us what another council member said. That would be a Brown Act violation. So can you please elaborate on why you believe it would have been a Brown Act violation to meet with the 5 of us separately without telling any one of us what another member of the council said, when that is actually done for other items? Why this one in particular?
Because I, in fact, met with these 2 council members, and they, in fact, provided me with direction. So if I were to represent to the 3 others that, oh, here are the recommendations, they came from the 2 council members.
You could have at
I
least
would
asked
be
for input.
communicating that, I would be communicating that information, conveying that information to a majority of the council outside the context of a notice public meeting.
You do
Yeah, I mean,
realize
you-
this
you
is a
didn't-
discussion item, right?
Excuse me.
We're
Well, this
supposed
is-
to be
this is
discussing
council
it.
questions of staff.
Yeah, but did you do your Brown Act training? Because the
Councilmember,
most basic
you're out of
rule
order.
of the Brown Act is that you
Councilmember,
cannot manipulate staff.
you're out of
This is an
order.
open item. Let's discuss it. Do you have an issue with number 1?
Madam
Let's
Clerk,
just
we're going to take a
discuss.
5-minute recess, please.
5, 4, 3.
Okay, we are now back from recess. And I'm going to continue with council questions of staff. So I was in the middle of one particular question. I'll go ahead and move on to my next one. One of the things that you mentioned, Steve, was that tonight in your report, that changes in the duties of a mayor happens often. Could you please elaborate on that?
Say that happens often. I don't
That it's normal and it happens
play
often.
that. I don't recall saying it happens often. I know that policy changes happen often, but that's more of a global comment.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And do you know when is the last time that, before June, pre-June 2022, when is the last time that the city council here in Moreno Valley made changes to the mayor's duties?
Oh, I don't recall. I don't recall any changes being made since I've been here, or even the last time I was here.
Okay. At least from my recollection, being on the council for 5.5 years, it never came up, ever, not once, until June 2022. That's the first time it ever came up, and there were proposed changes to this. So again, going back to the staff report and in the agenda, it mentions in there, and then you reminded us that you met with members of the council. You were asked to speak about this with Councilmember Bernard, but as you said, due to concerns with the Brown Act, you could not have that conversation with her. So my question would be, why couldn't you have at least like reached out and again asked to at least run this by me? I mean, at a bare minimum, this particular item directly affects me because I'm currently in the mayor's seat. So, I mean, don't you think just a common courtesy, just a quick phone call, just, hey, mayor, just to let you know, I'm meeting with 2 other council members. I can't tell you what it's about or what changes are being made, but just want to let you know. Like, couldn't you have just a quick phone call?
With all due respect, Mr. Mayor, it has nothing to do with common courtesy. It has to do with the Brown Act.
So you couldn't even pick up the phone, send me an email, hey, mayor, I'm talking to 2 council members about it. I can't discuss it with you.
I'm trying to protect you. You know, Councilmember Barnard asked me. She reached out to me. And that was my response to her. That's not a response I wanted to give to a new council member.
Okay. So the staff report that is on tonight's agenda, when was that prepared? When was that actually written and prepared and ready?
Last Wednesday?
You said last Wednesday?
Yes.
Okay, so was this already ready? Every Wednesday, just so everyone knows, there's a recurring meeting currently between Mayor Pro Tem and I to meet with staff to review the agenda. Was the staff report for this item ready and finished? It was not ready yet.
No.
So we had our agenda review, but the staff report wasn't ready until sometime after. When do you know exactly when it was ready?
I had a scheduled meeting with Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz at 5 o'clock following our 4 o'clock meeting.
Okay. So all of the changes, all of the proposed amendments to this ordinance, you hadn't even worked on it at all until after the agenda review.
I did not say that. It's just like with any of you. As soon as you start talking to me, I think, okay, what is this? What is the work product going to be? Is it going to be an ordinance? As soon as I know that, I grab something and I pull it together. Okay, let's start with this. So I had notes based on my conversations with Mayor Pro Tem Delgado, based on some previous discussions I had with Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz, and I was just compiling those notes, and then I was informed that, oh, you have to have that staff report turned in by Thursday before 4 p.m. And so I had a meeting at 5 o'clock the day before and pulled it all together.
Okay. So the public and myself included, and I guess in this case, both Councilmember Marquez and Councilmember Bernard, didn't have access to the staff report or know what was going to be on the staff report until 5 days ago. 5 days ago from today.
Yeah, at the same time that the public was also provided with it.
Yeah, 5 days ago, and holiday weekend, and now we're here at the council meeting. So I've been contacted by members of the public as well, and you've heard from many members of the public here tonight on this particular item with several concerns about making changes to the ordinance and the process and the procedure that has taken place to get here today. So I'm going to ask you to just elaborate on some of this and give your opinion on this, but some folks are saying that it's a possible Brown Act violation, again, going back to the way that council gave direction to you to go and work on it, that the actions that you took were well outside of the scope of the direction that was given to you by the city council. So do you mind just elaborating on that? And, you know, could this open the city up, in your opinion, because members of the public are saying it and I'm receiving calls about it, that we are opening ourselves up to litigation with the way that this is going, the process of this. So could you just speak to that?
You know, anybody can sue the city for whatever reasons they want. If anybody believes there's a Brown Act violation, there's a process for processing that claim. I'd be willing to talk to the district attorney's office with their investigators who I deal with on Brown Act issues at any time. Full disclosure.
Okay. In your report, you also went over certain things such as state law or other court precedent, case law, et cetera, that might supersede the rules that we set in place as a city council. Outside of the state law and any other case law, are there any other rules that supersede the ones that we have here in place as described in the staff report? Are there any other laws or codes that supersede the rules that are being recommended?
Well, this
tonight?
research that was conducted for the staff report is based on the current laws and legal authorities in place at the time that I prepared it, as far as I know.
Okay. And so you've already made it clear that you are not making any recommendations, that this is purely coming from the two council members here to my right. So which recommendation specifically came from Mayor Pro Tem Delgado?
Oh, okay.
We're in open
I think
session.
that-
it's
I
a
think
public
that,
meeting, or if Mayor Pro Tem
I
would like to
think- Yeah,
elaborate.
I could probably
identify.
answer that, and I don't know the number, but I will tell you that going through all, is it my time to talk a little
Well,
bit?
right, just for right now. But
Okay, so
I
the
still have
answer
it.
to that is I can't tell you exactly which one. I went through every single one. And to tell you which one I absolutely put my initials on, I can't tell you exactly which one.
Can you maybe point out one or two at least? You don't have to go through the entire list.
Okay, so yes. When you were a council member, you were told that you cannot attend a conference that you were not part of. That's still in here. So, in saying that, you are saying, essentially what this is saying, this document is stating, and that's why it should be a living document, and our ability to modify it whenever. You're saying right now that if I'm not on RCA, and Dave says, hey, I'm going to the RCA conference in Palm Springs on June 1st, you should probably go because they have a lot of good information. I said, well, I can't because I have to get the mayor's permission. That happened to you.
Do you think that's okay?
No, and that's why I want. That's my point. Is I look at that and I said it's time to change that.
Because you were okay with it
yes,
last
and,
June.
and going back,
you gave
I
that
own
duty
that
to the former mayor.
and we all
that
did.
was a mistake.
We all I was. I won't say it was a mistake because I own it.
Gene?
If I make a mistake or if I make a decision up here, I have to own it, and I'm owning it now. So moving forward, I want to fix stuff like that, items like that, which require my permission or your permission to give me a council member, that I was duly elected, permission to go to a conference. There's a lot of that stuff in there, and it was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
So it was brought to my attention saying, we need to look at this. We should look at this. I said, well, absolutely. When stuff like that comes up, it needs to be addressed. And there's a lot of them in there. There's a lot of them.
Are you deliberating?
No, I'm good.
This is questions. This is questions.
Be
We're
taking
good.
public comments?
We'll get to deliberation.
Mayor, can we go on to the public testimony? We've got a couple of speakers that are here.
Yes, to respect, but I still have other questions, so I don't want to move to public comment and then not be able to come back. So if we open it up to public comment right now, can we still go back and do council questions of staff?
With count.
Me, you are the presiding officer.
You can do
So
that.
that's a yes?
You can do that. then.
Okay, so for the public record, our city attorney is saying that at the request of staff and to respect members of the public who are here wanting to speak on the item, we're going to open it up to public comments, and our city attorney is saying that after that, we can go back to council questions of staff and pick up where we are right now. Just want to make that clear to everyone.
We are not dealing with any due process issues here.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, we'll come back to questions. We'll pick up on this spot once the public comments are finished. So, okay, Madam Clerk, at this time, let's go ahead and call any speakers for this item.
Okay. We've got 3 speakers. Christopher Baca, Luis Palomares, and Martin Cabrera Sr.
Is Mr. Baca here?
Good evening, Council. I'm sorry, on the last issue, I wanted to point out to Mr. Mayor, if you can please maybe proclaim a curfew time for Sunnymead Boulevard until you get the funding for the public safety. And that's something hopefully you can take up. I was part of the group that came up with the elected mayor thing, and we got our elected mayor, and that was the first process. I wasn't in support of the particular one that won. I would prefer that we had 6 council districts and that our mayor was simply the tiebreaker. Therefore, each person did their district, and the mayor is basically more of a, I think we don't understand here, and a lot of people don't understand here, that we are a general law city and not a charter city. Therefore, the mayor doesn't have all those powers that a charter can have. So if you're more concerned, Mr. Mayor, of maybe you should start looking into forming a charter for our city so you can be, have the power that you'd like. We had our first elected mayor, Mr. Gutierrez, who won successfully several times. And, basically it was his administration. It was a whole new council. We're here today with a new mayor and a new council, and we're here to make changes. And like he said, our attorney, it's not written on stone. Every time you get a new mayor, you change the stuff around and to your likings, and that's what the process is. Another individual was saying that this isn't democracy. I think they got the horse behind the carriage, whereas this isn't a dictatorship. You're not a dictator, sir. You're the mayor, ceremonial mayor at that. And democracy is exactly what we're seeing here. We're seeing our elected officials make decisions to change process that seems more fair. At the time, maybe it was right. Mr. Delgado made a decision, and he's owning up to it. And he says he just feels that you should not have the right to decide on all these things that, as in a democracy, it should be allowed. So those are my comments. I have a few seconds. I wanted to point out that as far as commissions, just like that, what's coming up on appointments and so forth, Mr. Delgado was part of the Caltrans, we didn't have so many homeless living on the stuff. We didn't have people under the underpasses. You know, something's wrong here. In the last couple months, you know, something is very wrong in the city. You know, and I think we need to really look into what's really going on, because this homeless and vagrant thing is a big danger to our city.
Next speaker is Luis Palomares, followed by Martin Cabrera Sr.
Wow. Okay. I feel like I'm October 19th again. You're arguing with the city attorney, Cabrera, because you want to keep hanging on to all this power. But you know what? You're not equipped to do that, because you're showing yourself right here and now what's going on. I mean, I don't believe it. You know, you're crying over a few of this, that being changed. Well, could you really do it all? Could you really do it all? That's $1 million question here. You got to grow up. You know, I'm here talking to somebody behind me real quick. They're making a remark, and I'm saying something back to them. And your wife gets up and goes and tells the officer, nobody else heard me but her, because she's right in front of me.
To the agenda item, please.
I keep to the item. You're right. I'll do that. So saying all that, you know, the voters spoke. You know, people voted for you based on the lies, but a lot of people didn't vote for you. They can't trust you with all of this. And what happened yesteryear, we're in today now. We're here today. We're not here in June, and you're arguing with the council members here. Grow up. You're so immature. And I believe everything you were saying, or even the attorney was saying, went over Marcus's head. He was voting on the wrong. You know, earlier he voted. I mean, come on. I wonder if he got anything that was said here a while ago, because some of it went over my head. So I don't think so. Come on. You got to get it right. Hold on. I got to get my notes here. I'm upset. Okay. Anyway, yeah, it's too much power for one man, one little boy. It's too much power. You know, right now you're arguing with the attorney, the council members. Imagine if you have it all. What are you going to be doing then? I'm scared to give you all that much. You can't be trusted with it. You know, the previous mayor could, but you can't. You can't. He was a humble and a gracious man. That's one thing you can't say about you. It's always about you, all about you. Me. What can I get? I want it. I want it now, Daddy. Give it to me now. Okay, Willy Wonka? I mean, that's why I feel like I'm here back on the October 19th. I mean, gee, deja vu. What's really going to happen if you have all this? And your speakers here came out, oh, no, he can't. Can't they hear what you're doing right here? In front of their faces, what you're doing. You're arguing with the attorney again. When are you ever going to learn? You don't know how to run a meeting. You need to go to that training they wanted you to go to, or you're going to go to. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next two speakers are Martin Cabrera Sr. and Stephen Alvarado.
Thank you again for letting me talk here. Nobody has seniority here, even though the speakers come up here talking about doing the right thing. I think it's my personal humble opinion, totally wrong, coming and yell and talking nonsenses. You are capable, Mr. Mayor. Keep it there. You're not arguing. You're defending what the people gave you. These people coming up and talking about middle fingers, talking about not giving a place for the homeless. You know how many veterans are out there on the streets because they gave their life for you citizens here? And you're regretting that? Come on. You're talking about using your senses? Come on, people. I'm talking to the people outside in the community, and they say, you know what? People going up there and talk just crap. Support
Support the new venues, support the new upcoming projects. Stop the labios here. Stop the hatred that is in your souls. Talking to you, Luis, directly to you. You supporting hatred? You know, I don't know, I cannot see your family how well doing with all that teaching that you're doing. And let me express a real directive to you.
Keep it to the agenda item, please.
So, anyways, Mr. Mayor, you deserve what you're doing and what the people put you to enforce constitutionally, which you're doing. And this is not personal. I'm talking for the rest of the citizens, right? So keep it up. If these council members differs in your opinions, somehow they have the right to speak, that's correct. But somehow they have the right to correct too. And nothing like act like a conspiracy here. Thank you.
The final speaker is Stephen Alvarado.
Good evening, City Council, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to speak on behalf of democracy, the idea of democracy as Mr. Palomero spoke about earlier. I am not informed about the modifications and the things, of what's going on between, the City Council and the current mayor. But I do want to say in regards to Martin Luther King, yesterday was Martin Luther King Jr.'s Day. And he said something that maybe would apply to us all and will apply to us all. It says, if a man is called to be a street sweeper, he should sweep streets even as Michelangelo painted, or Beethoven composed music, or Shakespeare wrote poetry. He should sweep streets so well that all of the hosts of heaven and earth will pause to say, here lived a great street sweeper who did his job well. And with that, I just want to say democracy depends on the person who has the authority. We are not ones to define what democracy is, because democracy flows based off how life goes. We learn and we grow, and at the end of the day, I really am going to go with Mr. Cabrera too. I really don't advocate for any form of hate or any form of misinformation, and I'm not well aware, but what I do want to say is let's just try to get along. Overall, let's try to get along and, understand each other very well. We all have our different attitudes, our different character. We must build upon that, because the city will grow off of that. It will grow off of building along with each other, not, trying to drag each other down. You know this, you know that. We must learn, we must grow as a community, as a city. And I know the mayor because he is my friend and he's like a brother to me. At the end of the day, I look up to him, and I don't care whatever people say, oh, you don't know him. Of course, nobody fully knows anybody. You can't tell me that you know someone fully, like if you are that person. We will grow, and I have the confidence in the current mayor that he will change this city. And the modifications here, I don't know what happened. I don't know what's going on. Maybe, I need to catch up with some information, but it must not affect the community. The decisions that you guys will make as a city council, as the mayor, must not affect the community. The hate must not get to the city. There's people out there that are struggling while we're over here arguing what's this, what's that. You don't know.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
That concludes public comment, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So that brings us back to council questions of staff. And I do have more questions, but again, to be respectful to my colleagues here, And quite honestly, this should be a study session because this is a long item. Obviously, this is dragging on into the late evening, but there's a lot to be said about this. So I'm going to wait and give my colleagues an opportunity to ask their council questions of staff, and then I'll come back and finish my questions as well. So I see here on the list of requests to speak, we have first Mayor Pro Tem Delgado.
So just confirming, this is not questions of staff, these are comments and deliberation, correct?
No, this is council questions of staff, and then we will get to the deliberation.
Can I scratch that, please? I have no questions of staff.
Okay, thank you. Any council questions of staff from Councilmember Marquez?
Thank you, Mayor. Steve, back in June, you were part of this mayor's responsibility, correct?
I'm usually a part of all your ordinances, yes.
Okay. Back in June, do you recall how many hours, days did you spend on that?
I do not recall.
How many hours did
You
you
guys keep
spend?
me so busy here. I'm just, you know.
Well, that's
that
fine.
would, I can't recall.
How many hours have you spent so far on this issue right now?
Maybe 8 hours, maybe. This was not very difficult to actually draft.
Steve, your salary is paid by hourly, am I correct?
My firm is paid on an hourly basis, just like all law firms are.
You're directly not paid hourly?
I don't get paid directly by the city council. You contract with my firm, not me individually.
But it is your firm.
That's correct.
So what you do in line to advise council members or the city, it's at your discretion on how much time you spend, correct? It's not, correct? In other words,
Unless I'm given a limit. My job is to serve this community as requested by the council and or staff. I don't come up with these ideas on my own.
but my understanding here by listening, you took it upon yourself to listen to these two council members when I, part of this council, don't recall giving you direction to meet with any council members. You took it upon yourself to do this, correct?
Correct. As you have requested me to send letters to planning commissioners, to other people who have spoken here on personal matters, you've asked me to prepare letters, and I've done that.
Okay.
Without permission from the city council.
Okay, I'll do my comments, Councilman. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other requests for comments, or excuse me, questions of staff? I see Elena Baca Santa Cruz.
Steve, at the December 20th meeting, do you recall Mayor Cabrera saying, and I quote, "I see no issue with it. I think a council member could just speak with a staff member, go over it, see what the changes could be. I think there's much more important things to focus on and spend staff time on, but I'll leave it up to the rest of the council."
I recall reading something like that in the verbatim transcript I was provided. So you must have this.
I have the transcript, yes.
Okay.
Because I
For the
wanted to make
record,
sure
I did
that
not
we were.
provide you with those.
Okay, yeah, but I wanted to make sure that we were doing what we discussed in open session because, so I understand that this item here is as a discussion item. So we should be discussing the mayor duties and we could do that line by line, have that discussion, and then at the end, direct you to bring back an ordinance. This in no way is a final draft, a new ordinance. There's no chance that at the end of today's meeting, we will be voting and having changes. This is only a discussion item, is that correct?
That's correct.
So
Otherwise,
the
it would
public
be-
was noticed when I made the motion in open session. Today, as we discuss it, if we agree and direct you to bring it back, they'll have a third meeting where the ordinance will be brought to the public as a general business, and then a fourth meeting where it would be codified as a consent calendar item. So that would be 4 separate meetings, at least over a span of 2 months, the way our meetings are, for the public to bring input, for council members to review and study and bring back before any changes are made. So is that correct?
That's correct. I anticipate that if there's any direction provided to bring back any of these changes in the context of a formal document, it would come back as a general business item, after which, and it may likely include an ordinance, which is going to require the fourth meeting that you're referring to.
Right.
It would have to come back for a second reading as a consent calendar item.
Okay, so I'm understanding this correctly, and it's in no way has the public only been given 5 days or any council member only 5 days before this change. We were discussed it at the in December. We're discussing it today, and will possibly be discussed at the very least at 2 more meetings.
Correct.
Okay. Since, Mayor, since you asked Mr. Delgado, Mayor Pro Tem Delgado, about his actions, I wanted to know if I could ask you a question. 2 separate city councils have censured you and required that you attend trainings. Have you attended the sexual harassment training or the Brown Act training?
Yeah,
By
how
today.
does that relate to this item?
Because you're asking
That has nothing to do with
Brown
this particular
questions
item.
about the Brown Act. I wanted to know if you're prepared for this meeting. If I had been ordered to do it, I would do it right away.
That didn't come up in
No?
the
Okay.
city attorney's staff report. If you want, we could talk about that some other time. I've requested meetings with you for over 2 months. You've continued to cancel on me. So if you want, I'm more than happy to sit down with you and discuss that, but you have to meet me halfway.
Okay, so I have no more questions for staff. Thank you.
Any other council members for questions of staff? Okay. So I'm going to resume. And again, I want to respect everybody's time. We have parents up here on the dais, myself included. It is now 9 p.m. I do have more questions. And again, like I said, this ideally would be a subcommittee or a study session. So we have a scheduled time to go over this because this is a very detailed item. So I just want to put it out there. Again, looking at the clock, I don't mind staying here till 10, 11, 12 midnight if we have to, because I have other questions and I don't know how long deliberation will go for my colleagues, but I'm going to see if there's any desire to continue this to the next council meeting, again, in respect of the time and everybody's personal life. If anybody is okay with that, I'm open to that. If not, we can continue on with this item.
Mayor, can I make a proposal that this continue at a later date where we can have study sessions and open this to the public for input?
I would fully support that. I think this would address a lot of different parts of this, so I fully support that. If that's a motion.
It's a motion that we carry this over into a study session to allow the general public to have an input into this discussion.
I'll second that motion.
Do we not have to finish this first? I mean, this whole process?
Do we can make motions essentially at any point in the item, right? But even if we have to essentially go to a vote.
You can make a
There's
motion to
in a second.
continue at any point during this process.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. So I would love to hear from the rest of my colleagues. I've heard a suggestion from Councilmember Marquez, and again, I'm willing to stay here longer, but I want to respect everybody's time. So if you all want to continue with the meeting, we can do that. If you'd like to continue this to the next council meeting or schedule a study session on this, I'm open to that as well.
We have to deal with the motion because the motion's been made and it's been seconded. So we have to deal with that before we can continue any discussion.
Correct.
Okay,
There's our
so let's continue with the
parliamentarian.
motion.
Yeah. So the motion once again is to schedule a study session to discuss this item that's on the agenda at a future time. I seconded the motion. Can you please call for a vote? Okay, the motion passes, and once again, that is to schedule a study session to discuss this item at a future time, and the vote passes 3 yeses to 2 nos. So this item will come back in a form of a study session at a future time. That brings us to item H on the agenda, and I believe there were, was it 1 or 2 items? I know it was item A6 on the consent. Were there any other items that we need to take on H? Just A6? Okay. So at this time, let's go to item A6, and we will, just 1 second. Are there any public comments for this item, Madam Clerk?
There is one.
Okay, go ahead and call the speaker.
Okay, Luis Palomares.
Wow, Luis Palomares, community activist. Wow, we're panicking, huh, Cabrera? You need the time, huh? Wow, and your right-hand man here, Marcus. Wow. As far as the agent, well, whatever. Oh golly, I'm so upset, so I can't even think straight right now. But anyway, as far as when you made out the commissions and the subcommittees and all of that, you gave Marcus six primaries and I think 3 alternates. That's great. I am glad you did that. Let's see if he shows up. That way you can take care of it. I'm so glad. It got spread out pretty good after that, but it's a joke. It's a joke. In the beginning in the year, he missed I don't know how many meetings. Then he missed last meeting last time. And how is he going to handle all this? Wow, it's great. I am so glad you gave him that. You know, as far as the other ones that got on the commissions, it's good. I'm glad. You know, it's spread out a little more evenly. But it seems like Marcus got more than anybody here. And he's not even here half the time. He's not even, golly, he's not even in the meeting. He's not in the meeting. Because what bothers him, that's his favorite line, what bothers me, golly, what bothers me, you don't even have a clue what's going on. And who texts you so you can, you know, you got text because those are the questions you're asking at the last question we talked about. You don't even know, you can't even think to ask those questions. Somebody had to text you or tell you how to do that. So a no vote, you voted no earlier on. The mayor had to tell you, was that the right vote?
Can you please keep it to
Was that the right vote?
item?
Okay.
A6.
So as far as the commissions, well, it seems like it was spread out a little bit better, but it had to be told to you how vindictive and how revengeful you were to put one of the council members on one alternate, only one, and everybody else got everything, and that's okay too. But wow, if people wouldn't have came here, us 5 people that don't count and that don't deserve an apology, because we don't live in your district, right, Marcus? Us 5 people, if we wouldn't have came and said anything, it would just went like that. You're wrong, and it shows you're wrong on these commissions. So imagine you gave yourself you and Marcus, most of this power on the commissions or the say, but yet, he can't even put 2 and 2 together sometimes. So I don't understand how you put him on 6, but I'm glad you did. I want to see how he juggles this one. And I want to see how you juggle it after he can't show up, because you can be everywhere. That's right, because you don't got a job, a real job, so you can be everywhere. So you can take care of all his commissions when he misses. Thank you.
That concludes public comments, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That will move us to council questions of staff. If anyone would like to ask any questions, please hit your speaker button. Seeing none, that'll bring us to council deliberation if desired. On this particular item, please hit your speaker item here, and I will call on you. First, we have a request by Councilmember Bernard.
So one reason that I had wanted this item dealt with in open session is because, and just like I've heard the public talk about tonight, they want to talk about what other cities do. Other cities have these discussions regarding appointments of boards and commissions in open session, where every single member of the city council makes their argument for what boards and commissions they would like to sit on, makes their reasoning, and they figure out who's going to go where. We keep talking about transparency. We keep talking about wanting to make sure that the public is aware of what we're doing. And I remember having discussions with you, and you didn't like when it was all held by one person and they were just appointing somebody with no real rhyme or reason to it. So I thought by opening this up to discussion with the public, seeing how it can happen, how we can go through this, that we give everyone a chance to say what board and commission they wanted to be on openly. We can talk about who would want to sit on something alternately and possibly get into a discussion about making sure these things are rotated throughout the year, from year to year, to make sure that not only do we have representation, but everybody's able to say what they want, which is why I really stressed the last time at the previous meeting that we should do this in open discussion. So I was a little disappointed when I saw it come across again in the consent calendar with just the revisions, when what I specifically remember saying was we should have this as an open discussion. So I think if we're gonna talk about transparency, just like if we're gonna talk about the duties in the study session, then we need to go ahead and make transparency something that we're going to live by and open up completely and not just talk about it. So that's where I'm at with this. So with that being said, I would like to sit on RTA as well as the Finance Subcommittee, are the only two commissions that I'm requesting to be a part of. I can fill in as needed for other ones, but those are the two main ones that I'm requesting.
Thank you, Councilmember. And I just want to, I'm going to call on Councilmember Marquez next, but before we go there, I want to make sure I'm taking notes. This is actually the first time, which I think this is good. This is also what I want, to have an open dialogue and a transparent discussion about this. And also would love to talk to staff about, traditionally it's always been on the consent calendar, but I'm definitely open to the idea of, in the future, listing the appointments to boards and commissions as, I don't know if it would fit under general business or any other place on the agenda. I have no problem with that whatsoever. I think that's a good idea as well. And so just to make a note, you said you would like to serve on RTA and the Finance Subcommittee.
Yes.
Okay. And you're currently the proposal is you're currently appointed or proposed to be appointed to the Finance Subcommittee and RTA. Currently it's primary Councilmember Marquez, and then I'm currently listed as an alternate. So on that one, I definitely would want to hear from the rest of the council members, but I've made a note of that as well. So thank you for that, council member. Okay, we have comments from Councilmember Marquez.
Thank you, Mayor. We had some speakers here saying that the mayor was appointing certain people to certain commissions because he liked them, he didn't like somebody else. You know, it's funny, we get a new mayor and we have to change every ordinance in our books. And the memory that I have, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, when we were appointed by the former mayor, which he did call every one of us or send us emails, asking for what committees we were on, but that wasn't a Brown Act back then. Now it's a Brown Act. I didn't know that Brown Act changes the laws. Well, back then, I was taking off every committee because I spoke up and spoke my mind, and the majority said, well, you don't want to be on any committees, the mayor has every right to take you off, and he did. So we're here now saying that the mayor is appointing certain people to commissions, and some of these speakers don't know what committees I've been on in the past, how many times I've missed a meeting. Well, let me let the residents know something. Staff knows. In a little over 6 years of being an RTA, I have missed 2 meetings in 6 years. One is when my late wife passed away, and the second one when I had COVID. I was excused from RTA for those meetings. RCA, I've been on it for 6 years. I had them pull my records, attending records. One meeting I missed because I had COVID. There's other regional meetings I've been on, committees I've been on. My attendance is perfect. Now they say, well, I'm not going to be able to make them because I don't come to council meetings. Well, you're not. When you're sick, you're sick. When you have death in the family, family comes first. So they can speak all they want up here that I don't make meetings, so the mayor's going to attend these meetings and he's going to be swamped. That's BS, because they don't know my records. So with that being said, with all this other chaos that we want to change the mayor's responsibilities and part of this nomination, BS. So these speakers can come up here and say all they want, but they're talking out of you-know-where because they don't know what my attendance are on these committees. So I just want to make it public record. If you have a problem, if you want to see my records, all you have to do is do the same thing you do here, public request, RTA, RCA, and other committees I've been on, and they'll give you the attendance of mine, and you'll see. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. And before we move on to Mayor Pro Tem Delgado, just want to go back to you, Councilmember Bernard. So once again, going back to the current proposal and then your requests, and then having heard Councilmember Marquez's comments, currently I'm listed as an alternate, right, in the proposal. Would you be okay with, for RTA, I will remove my name from the alternate position. Would you be okay with being an alternate to RTA? Perfect. Okay. So we'll for the record, we're making that change to this list. So Marquez primary to RTA, Bernard alternate to RTA. Okay. Thank you, Councilmember. Next on the list here, we have Mayor Pro Tem Delgado.
So I just want to let you know, the only one that I really care to stay on, and I'll make it easy for Shaylinda or Elena, is the JPA. And I mean, if they choose to be on it and they want to be on it, the only thing is we're like kind of right in the middle of a big transition with the sunsetting. So I recommend, or I request to stay on that. Other than that, my colleagues, you're more than welcome to have any. Oh, this public safety subcommittee, I'll stay on. But if anyone, it's all yours, sir.
Understood. So the one you definitely would like to stay on is the March Joint Powers Commission.
And this public safety.
And the Public Safety Subcommittee. Understood. And currently, you are currently one of the primaries, and you are again being recommended and nominated for that. And then for the Public Safety Subcommittee, you're currently on that list as well. So that's perfect. Okay. Thank you so much. Next, we have Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz.
I am on the current recommendations on the primary for the School District City Joint Task Force. And I was wondering, Councilmember Bernard, since you were put as an alternate for RTA, if perhaps you would be interested in serving on that committee. Just a suggestion. Yeah, the school joint, since we both work within public service. Just so that we could, yeah.
Yes, I'm currently on there, but what's the reason to ask someone else to be on that council, on that committee? Thank you. That's all I have.
It's just my suggestion. But I'm fine with this being the, having the only interagency as the school district, or I'd be willing to, I heard MPT Delgado say he's not that interested in the WRCOG. I'd be willing to serve on that if you'd like to give it up. I'm not saying I want that one like you want the JPA. Then on the advisory commissions and boards, the only one I'm assigned to is Environmental and Historical Preservation Board, which I find interesting, but there are 7 vacancies on that committee, so there's no meetings at all. I'd be interested in serving perhaps on Parks, Community Services, and Trails, or Emerging Leaders, since those are ongoing committees. The environmental is not meeting right now. And then as far as the subcommittees, wherever, I'm not a primary, I'm a alternate on the parks, and that's fine as well.
Okay, thank you, council member. And just to make sure, I'm going to go over that one more time to make sure I got everything. So you mentioned WRCOG. You also mentioned Parks, Community Services, and Trails Committee, and there was one other one.
Emerging Leaders?
Emerging Leaders Council. Okay, I'm going to make a note of that here. Okay, so I'm just going to take a look at this real quick. I really like this. I like what's happening right now. We're having a cordial, open, public conversation about this. I wish we would have been doing this for a long time, but from here on out, this is what's going to happen. So I appreciate the council for allowing this. Council Member Baca Santa Cruz. Currently, the proposal on the list is that Mayor Pro Tem Delgado would be primary to WRCOG, and I would be alternate. Would you be okay with being the primary to WRCOG in place of
yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Okay, yes.
Okay, so we're making that for the public record.
And he would be the secondary, or would you continue as alternate?
If you're okay, okay, yeah. So I would still be the alternate for WRCOG, but primary would be Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz for WRCOG. And then the other ones, I'm just going to go down the list here. And Councilmember Moreno, you mentioned that there's the vacancies, and part of what we have to do is make appointments, and that's part of the process. But I learned from this process to allow more opportunities. So I know the city is doing a lot of public outreach right now on social media and other platforms to give the public an opportunity to submit applications and make sure that we spread the word about it. So that's the main reason why I have not put that item on the agenda, is because, again, I learned from what happened here in the last meeting, and I want to allow an opportunity for members of the public to have sufficient time to submit their applications. So I'm hoping that we have the applications and we can appoint a full commission or a committee to the Environmental Historical Preservation Board so that we can actually have meetings, right? So just wanted to make a note of that. But ELC, I've been on the ELC, the liaison, for years. Actually, since I first got on the council, I've always been the liaison. I really would like to keep that. It's really a passion of mine.
Okay, I'll stay as the alternate. You let me know if you can't make the meeting.
Perfect. And then, sure, yeah.
The time.
One of my colleagues had expressed interest because they were on the Library Commission prior. I would give up the Library Commission to District 1 council member, if she wants to do that.
Okay, understood. So that, yeah.
Put me an
exactly.
alternate. I'll be an
Yeah.
alternate.
So would that be okay with you, council member? So currently the proposal is Marquez primary, Baca Santa Cruz alternate. It would be Baca Santa Cruz primary, Marquez alternate for the Library Commission. Okay, perfect. Okay. I think, unless I missed something, I think that addresses everything, but are there any other comments, anything else from the council before any motion is made? Okay, so staff, hope y'all are taking notes. I'm trying my best here to take notes as well of the changes, but it has been made public for everyone to know, and so I'll entertain a motion to approve the nominations according to the changes that we just made.
I make that motion that, with the revised that you have there, that we approve of that.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Marquez and a second by Councilmember Bacasana Cruz. Please vote. And that passes unanimously, 5-0. Yes, we got a clap back there. Again,
Did you say 5-0?
that was 5-0. See, it's possible. So, thank you again to the council for. I really this is what I want to see moving forward. Right, have these open discussions and dialogue. Okay, so that was item H. That brings us to item I. I know all of us want to probably get back to our families. First, we have city council reports. First on the list is Mayor Pro Tem Delgado for March JPA, and then I believe you also have a report from RCTC.
That's correct. I'll do JPA first. Tonight I'm providing an update from the March Joint Powers Commission meeting held last Wednesday. We selected officers for the 2023 season, and I accepted the vice chair roles for the March JPA, the successor agency, the Airport Authority, and the Utilities Authority. I will also continue to serve on the Meridian March Business Center Implementation Committee. We approved the JPA's sponsorship of the air show to be held at the base this year on April 22nd and 23rd. Mark your calendars. Maybe they're going to talk about it later. Finally, we approved an exclusive negotiating agreement with the California Army National Guard regarding the vacant Navy Operational Support Center building. The Army National Guard is working on plans to establish a youth challenge academy at this site. That concludes my report on last week's meeting for the JPA. Moving on to the Riverside County Transportation Commission, or RCTC. Tonight I'm providing updates from the Riverside County Transportation Committee meeting held on January 11th. The commission conducted a public hearing to receive input on the proposed RCTC 91 Express Lanes toll policy and toll schedule. The commission also heard a presentation regarding Riverside County Free Rail Pass Program and then approved an agreement with the Southern California Regional Rail Authority, MetroLink, corporate partner program. That concludes my report on the RCTC. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Next, we have two reports from Councilmember Marquez. We have RTA and RCA.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight I'm providing updates from the RTA Board Administration Operations Committee meeting held on January 11th. The committee approved and recommended to the full Board of Directors to approve a sole source purchase order to Gem Fair LLC for 2 Fast Fare fare box receivers and 2 Fast Fare fare box vaults. And what these are is where the money is put in when the drivers come in after their shift. No one touches or opens that box. These are put in a vault. The Brinks, or whatever company they contract with, has the only key to open these vaults or receivers. They take the money out and they go count it. So the vaults and the receivers that they have now, they're about 15 years old. So they've been having a lot of problems opening them and closing them. The committee also approved the recommendation of the full board on other items, which is called the it's SSP recommendations. And I'm not going to get into that because it's a long process to explain it. That concludes my report on the RTA. RCA covered at the board directors meeting on January 9th. I was there. The October MSHCP fee collection report stated that Moreno Valley fees collection for August, September were pending. I don't know why. We've usually pay our fees on time, so I don't know. Maybe Brian can comment on that. But August, September fees are pending.
We'll look into it, council member.
Okay, thank you. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. And that brings us to I2, which is Employee Association reports. None tonight. Okay. Thank you. That brings us to the famous city manager's report.
Actually, I have no city manager's report for tonight.
I was looking forward to it. All right. Sounds good, Mike. Thank you. And that brings us to reports and comments from council members who did not speak earlier. We will have 5 minutes per council member for closing comments. And we'll start with council member Baca Santa Cruz.
Action-packed tonight, right? Good evening. My report will be short. I just want to say that on our agenda each month, we're supposed to meet the second Tuesday of each month for a study session. So I would like to see the study sessions come. It would be nice if we could decide on the topic of the study session on the first meeting of the month, and also add an item to the agenda for future agenda items, so that we know that what will be discussed, so the public will know what we would be discussing at future agendas. I had a lot more. What I want to say is that the item that we postponed to the next meeting, the mayor duties, should have looked a lot like the discussion item we just had. We would speak about it in an open session here with the public. I have questions for staff, make deliberations. I envisioned that item would look very much like this, where we would start with number 1 and say, is there any issue with the changes that are proposed, and move through each item. So it's not going to be something scary. It's not a power grab. This is a realignment of power back to the council districts. If there's an issue or a matter that is just in my district, I'd like the opportunity to handle it, not that it be only the mayor's responsibility. So it's not just about power, it's about also having responsibilities, and all of us are elected to represent our constituents, and we should be held responsible and accountable for doing so. So although I did approve the mayor's duties, I will say that I didn't even have 30 days in office when this resolution ordinance was brought to me. So I have now gone over it with the city attorney and had a lot more experience up here. I don't have 5.5 years sitting up on the dais, but it's almost been a year. And I do believe that, like I said at the last meeting, that this item should be brought back every time we change mayor, that this kind of ordinance should be brought back for discussion. By the time that we come back for our next meeting in February, I will have attended a new council orientation. So I am looking forward to that training and learning more about how I can serve my community better. So thank you very much, and that's it.
Thank you, council member. Next, we have closing comments from council member Marquez.
I have nothing, Mayor. Thank you.
Nothing about football, at least a joke, anything? Just kidding.
No, it's getting late, and I think it's past a lot of our bedtime, so I'll defer my time over to someone else.
Sounds good. Thank you, council member. Next, we have council member Shalinda Bernard.
I would like to first thank everyone for hanging out with us tonight. It was late. I am so sorry to city staff, but sometimes discussions take time. Also, I remember someone in the audience had said the future can be different in regards to some of the things that were going on up here. And I just want to report that, yes, the future can be different. This is why we're having these discussions about transparency and changing it. Because if we didn't like how things were done previously, then now is the time to address it instead of letting it happen for 2-3 years and then deciding we want it to be changed. And also, I would like to also, we did not have a chance to discuss this, is to if we are able to close the meeting tonight in memory of Officer Calhoun. We've gotten up here and there's all these discussions happening, and it was said earlier tonight, but we are how many weeks into this? In the last meeting, January 3rd, something like this had happened, and here we are again at this meeting, and it's happening again. I hope, as a society, we can figure out why everyone's first initial response when something is happening is to be angry or to use violence, but we need to start addressing these things. And even here in City Council, personally, I would like to see a lot of the back and forth going between the two factions honestly stop. I see people bring their own people in here, and then someone else is bringing their people in here. I would just like to get to city business and stop with the back and forth so that we can just get to a place where we're actually getting things done and everything's not contentious. So with that, that is it for me tonight, and my babies are probably asleep. Mommy, we'll see you guys in the morning then.
Thank you, Councilmember. And that brings us to Mayor Pro Tem Ed Delgado.
So I do have a lot real quick. I know you guys are wanting to go home. Give me 5 minutes. Just to let you know, I was just showing Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz that we are currently, I have to approve a memorandum to approve the way the funeral is going to go Saturday. And what I want to tell you guys is I'm not in any camp. Just like Councilmember Bernard, I'm not in a camp. If I agree with Elena about something, I agree with her. If I disagree with her, you know we're having this meeting tonight and not Thursday because I disagreed with her, right? Someone also said we need to be fair and impartial, and transparent, and that's why I voted to have a study session about this. There's a lot of stuff in there that needs to go away, for sure, 100%, and that's why I'm all for it. And I'm okay. I will stick to my guns on 99.9%, and there's already 2 that I want to change of the stuff that is in there, because we should be able to represent our districts solid, like they voted us to represent them. So, and not taking any power away from the current mayor or whoever's in that seat. It's to add our 2 cents in our districts. So District 2 is doing well, but this year we have a lot of goals and expect to see more good things happening for our D2 residents. We will certainly continue to see growth, not only in D2, but the entire city. As we continue to work together and work out our differences of opinion, this is written way before tonight, on the dais, I want to be as transparent as possible. We are essentially a new council, so I feel once we work out some of our new ways of doing business, we will be a very strong and united council for you, the residents of Moreno Valley. This is the beginning of the year, and we've already started to get things done for our city. I am proud of the things to come and the strength of this council to advocate for a better way of life in the city of Moreno Valley. And that leads me to this, a better way of life. This is not a political speech, rather some remarks on my feelings that I've had more emotions that I've ever dealt with in my lifetime. As most of you know, the Sheriff's Department lost 2 deputies that were murdered in the line of duty while protecting all of us. After planning Deputy Cordero's funeral just 2 weeks ago, I find myself planning yet another one. Thank you for the outpour of support and love for our fallen heroes from the residents of Moreno Valley. These senseless acts were by cowards that had no respect for law and order or life itself. Although these cowards are fully responsible for their actions, our legislatures help them by decriminalizing acts that should be felonies. If they are somehow held accountable and sent to jail, I see firsthand that we are being told we must coddle them within the custody system. Heaven forbid we hold them accountable for their crime or felonious behavior. These 2 evil human beings did not wake up and fear law and order or rules set by society, just the opposite. They were not being held accountable for their chosen lifestyles because they have the backing of some politicians that feel they have the right to do what they want. We have seen this firsthand in our county by certain politicians that sued to have the Youth Accountability Team, or YAT, removed from our system. This program was set up to hold our troubled youth accountable for their actions at an early age, so when they are adults, they know there are consequences for their actions. Unbelievable to see that occur, but it occurred. I am all for second chances, so that program was set up just for that, second chances. We are taught from an early age the difference between right and wrong and good and evil, but we are now being told that if we want law and order and we want to hold people accountable, we are bad people and do not want unity or inclusion. We are just picking on them, so we must create laws to protect them. So this is to the people that feel protected by these laws and feel that they can remain lawless in our communities. We, all good citizens of society, are not going to back down or stand by and become victims of your senseless behavior. You will be caught and dealt with by our strong men and women in tan and green. Residents of Moreno Valley, please know your Sheriff's Department will continue to answer the call for help and maintain law and order for your family in this city. This is This is to all the politicians that feel it is your duty to protect the criminal mindset and create laws that undermine law and order. You have been exposed, and you cannot continue to be the advocates for criminal behavior. We will vote you out of office. We need to stand up and change the mindset of people that want to reward criminals. So by the next time we meet here, we would have buried 2 men that had their whole lives ahead of them, that chose to abide by the laws set by society, but paid the ultimate price protecting us. So our children can play in a park, go to school safely, or go to the store without becoming a victim. Please remain vigilant and do not allow yourselves to be a victim. We will go about our daily lives and conduct business as usual, but these families will forever be changed. So please keep the families of Deputies Cordero and Calhoun in your thoughts and prayers. Until the next meeting, remember to be kind to one another and do something to change or positively affect someone's life. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Very well said. Before I get into my closing comments, first would like to, in February, and this was back in December, that the council approved to have a study session regarding homelessness and services and et cetera for either January or February. The next meeting would take place on February 14th, which is Valentine's Day. And so I want to propose to the council, to my colleagues here, I would like to request that that study session be moved and rescheduled to either Wednesday, February 15th or Thursday, February 16th. That way our study session doesn't conflict with Valentine's Day. We don't have to be here that night, so we could all spend time with our loved ones. So I would like to reschedule that meeting to either Wednesday or Thursday. So if everybody, I see everybody with their phones out, could just kind of check your schedule, your calendars to see how that works for you. That would again be either instead of the 14th study session, it would be either the 15th or the 16th of February, which is that same week, either Wednesday or Thursday. For me, either one of those works for me personally, either Wednesday or Thursday, but I'd like to hear from the council.
I personally prefer Wednesday, if that's
Either one. Either one. Okay. Council member? Okay. So
Are we gonna?
this is for the study session.
I know.
Yeah. So okay.
and not a reoccurring. This is just for this one.
This is only for this one because it happened. Unless you guys want to have it on Valentine's Day.
Doing something on
Wednesday.
the weekend.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I personally would rather not have it on Valentine's Day, and I want to respect our staff as well. So it sounds like Wednesday. Wednesday is okay with everyone. It's okay with you. Okay. So I'll make a motion to schedule the February study session for Wednesday, February 15th, and seeking a second on that.
I second.
Second by Councilmember Marquez. Please call for a vote. Could you do a voice vote, Madam? Yeah, could you just do a voice vote, please,
Yes.
Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz?
No.
Councilmember Bernard?
Yes.
Councilmember Barcus?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Delgado?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mayor Cabrera?
Yes. Okay, that motion passes 4 yeses to 1 no. So that study session, once again, for February, will be scheduled for Wednesday, February 15th instead of February 14th. Thank you. Okay, I'll make my closing comments here very brief. I don't have too many things today. Very well said, Mayor Pro Tem, regarding another unfortunate and untimely passing of another Riverside County Sheriff's Department deputy, another young man with a wife, and it's just something that we don't want to see here. And we're going to close the meeting in honor of him. but I'll just let Mayor Pro Tem's comments speak for us because it was very well said. Next, I would like to propose and make a motion for the creation of a new committee or task force that would be specifically focused on homelessness. Currently, the city of Moreno Valley doesn't have any committee or subcommittee, any body that specifically looks into homelessness in the city of Moreno Valley. So I would like to propose that the city create a new homelessness task force that is comprised of members of the public. That could be 7, 9, whatever the number is for all of our other boards and commissions. And that I would like to be one of the appointees to that committee. And then if any other member of the council would like to be a member of that committee as well. So that's my first proposal, making a motion to create a homelessness task force, and we could agendize it for a future meeting so that we can actually go through the details of that. So make a motion on that, and I'm seeking a second on that.
Would you be open to having that come out of the study session, or do you want to do it before the study session?
Definitely. How about the motion to?
I want more information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really would.
Like the scope and, yeah.
Yeah. So can I change my motion to, can we add the creation of a homelessness task force to our study session in February? That would be my motion, and seeking a second on that. Okay. Second by Councilmember Marquez, and please call for a vote.
Voice vote?
Voice vote, please.
Okay. Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz?
Yes.
Councilmember Bernard?
Yes.
Councilmember Marcus?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Delgado?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mayor Cabrera?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. That passes unanimously. Next, I would like to briefly talk about a tour that I took with some of our staff. Some of you may know, but many of you may not be aware that we in the city of Moreno Valley have a auto manufacturer, the only electric vehicle manufacturer in Southern California. Very, very proud to say that. And was able to take a tour of their facility recently. Was able to walk through it, and it was not my first time there, but the whole point of it was just to touch base with some of our private sector partners, and in particular Karma Automotive, because as I've stated before, it's very important that for me anyway, and I know for a lot of our constituents as well, to seek higher quality jobs, to bring in different type of economic development as well. In the past, I've mentioned how I would like for us to diversify our economy to make us more resilient and strengthen our local economy for any recessions, which, as we all know, we're essentially currently going through one. So diversifying the type of jobs that we have, and also capitalizing on the significant amount of funding that's currently coming down the pipeline from the federal and state governments, and all the opportunities that are coming with that for electric vehicle manufacturing, battery technology, renewable energies, autonomous driving, et cetera, et cetera. These are all industries and sectors that create high-paying, high-quality jobs. It'll increase wages in the city of Moreno Valley. So just wanted to mention that I was able to take a tour. Thank you to staff. Thank you to Mike Lee. I think you landed Karma years ago. And so thank you. Hats off to all of staff for that. Let's keep that going. Definitely want to keep that going. I also would like to briefly mention that this past weekend, there was an event at the Hole in the Wall, actually a fish fry, at the Hole in the Wall off of Postal Avenue. And it was raining, but they still were selling food out there, and they had a nice turnout. And I was able to attend. Mayor Pro Tem was able to attend as well. We presented them with a certificate, and it was a really nice event. So Hole in the Wall, if you hadn't had a chance to check them out or visit them, definitely highly recommend to stop by, say hello, because they do a lot of work for the homeless community here in Moreno Valley. And last, I would like to just briefly talk about Martin Luther King Jr. And I can recall from as early in life as I can consciously recollect, whether that was being in public education or even at home, learning about Martin Luther King Jr. and all the things that he did, which, it's very, he set such a high bar for all of us to try to, to reach. And one of the quotes I want to share from him is, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." And as we all know, Martin Luther King Jr., along with several other civil rights leaders at that time, were fighting fights that have given us today essential freedoms, constitutional rights that we did not have, that our American citizens did not have back in that day when he was still alive. And he gave his life. He paid the ultimate price so that we can enjoy the things that we have today. He was one of those people that fought that fight. And he paved a way for us to follow. And those are big footsteps to follow in, but I know that we can do that, and we are doing that one step at a time. In closing, I would like to close today's meeting and adjourn today's meeting in honor and in memory of Riverside County Sheriff's Deputy Darnell Calhoun. We'll adjourn this meeting tonight at 9:47 p.m.